Chapter 1. A Strange Delivery. The late summer sun slanted beneath the eaves of 221B Baker Street, casting warm pools of light upon the worn Persian rug. Hercule Poirot sat at his oval table, polishing his beloved brass compass, a relic from a past nautical case. His little grey cells, ever vigilant, appreciated the calm before what he instinctively sensed would be a storm of intrigue. Across the room, Captain Hastings paced, fiddling with the band of his watch. "Mon ami," Poirot began in his soft Belgian accent, "you disturb the harmony of my repose. What news from the clubs and papers this fine morning?" Hastings paused by the window, peering through the lace curtains. "Nothing of note, except this curious parcel that arrived moments ago. No return address, yet the postmark is unmistakably from Lord Alverstock's country estate in Wiltshire. It bears only your name, Monsieur Hercule Poirot, and no other inscription." Poirot set aside his compass, curiosity alight in his keen eyes. "Lord Alverstock, my old acquaintance from the baronet's dinner of 29. I wonder what prompts his sending something to me in London." He removed his pince-nez and surveyed the large, heavy package. The brown paper was sealed with black wax, pressed with the Alverstock crest, a rampant lion clutching a cricket bat. "Shall I open it?" Hastings asked, already leaning forward. "Messieurs, oui," Poirot replied, extending a gloved hand. He broke the seal with a careful blade and unfolded the paper. Inside lay a small iron sphere, smooth as a cannonball, but no larger than a cricket ball, its surface flecked with rust and engraved with cryptic indentations. 5 shallow pits arrayed in a rough arc, and, etched in delicate script, 3 letters F.P.C. Hastings reached out. An iron cricket ball indeed, but what is this? Letters F.P.C. I've no idea what they stand for. Poirot turned the sphere in his hand. A most unusual gift, and rather heavy for a sporting artifact. Perhaps a family heirloom of peculiar significance. He tapped the ball lightly on the tabletop. Chitush rang with a dull, resonant note. Not hollow, but solid. "I propose we visit Lord Alverstock this very afternoon and learn the secret of this iron sphere." Hastings frowned. "But my dear Poirot, how shall we reach Wiltshire in time? It is 200 miles hence." Poirot smiled, tapping his temple. "My little grey cells anticipate urgency. I shall telegraph for the 1:15 express. You will accompany me. And perhaps, Captain, you will prepare your pistols, though I trust we may need them only as ornaments." An hour later they arrived at Paddington Station, settling into a first-class carriage bound for Swindon. Poirot, impeccably dressed in a cool morning coat, gazed out the window at the rolling fields. Hastings, in his travel suit and bowler hat, retrieved a flask of whisky from his pocket. "A nip for the road," Hastings offered, pouring 2 fingers into their tumblers. Poirot shook his head politely. "I prefer to remain clear-headed, mon ami, but I thank you." He sipped a glass of iced water from his silver flask before setting it aside. "Tell me, Hastings, do you recall any mention of iron cricket balls in Lord Alverstock's eccentric collection? He did prize memorabilia from his beloved cricket club, but iron?" Hastings shrugged. "Only that he once commissioned a silver bat to commemorate a century scored at Lord's. But balls never in metal to my knowledge." As the train sped westward, the countryside yielding its pastoral charm, Poirot examined the iron sphere more closely. The pits, 5 in number, reminded him of the dimples on a golf ball, yet here they were irregular and deep. The engraving FPC suggested initials, perhaps of the maker or intended recipient. Mon Dieu! Hastings exclaimed, peering at the sphere. Could it be a fetish of sorts? A talisman to ward off ill fortune on the cricket field? Poirot tilted his head. An intriguing hypothesis, but I sense darker undertones. Iron, when poured into symbolic shape, often served as a potent talisman in bygone folkcraft, strong enough to ward evil spirits. But why send it, and with no message? Something unspoken lies herein. Hastings frowned again. Perhaps the sender fears a curse, wishes to protect you, Poirot. Poirot tapped the sphere's surface. Possible, yet I suspect we are to solve a mystery, not avert one. Let us proceed with neutrality, Hastings. We shall confer with Lord Theodule, Alverstock, and unravel this gift's enigma. Late that afternoon, they stepped from the carriage onto the platform at the quaint village of Shalbury, Wiltshire. A carriage bearing the Alverstock crest awaited, its whip held by a footman in livery. Poirot and Hastings climbed in, and the carriage rattled over narrow lanes, through hedgerows blazing with autumn colours, until the grand facade of Alverstock Manor hove into view. They were greeted by Lord Alverstock himself, an imposing figure with silver hair, dressed in a tweed shooting coat. His pale blue eyes brightened at Poirot's approach. "Hercule, my friend, what a surprise to see you! And Captain Hastings, of course, a most welcome company." Poirot bowed. "Thank you, Lord Alverstock, for your curious gift. I hope you have not inconvenienced you by travelling so swiftly." Lord Alverstock gestured to the carriage door. "Not at all. Please come inside. We shall have tea in the library. I confess, I sent you that iron sphere as a test. An object that holds a secret only true discernment can reveal." Inside, the library's high windows overlooked rolling lawns. Hastings set the sphere upon a side table near the hearth. A maid, in livery, poured tea. Lady Alverstock, a slender woman with soft features, joined them, offering polite smiles. Lord Alverstock cleared his throat. "I will not keep you in suspense. That iron ball was discovered in a sealed crate among my brother's estate papers, my late brother, Colonel Philip Alverstock, who died in Burma 10 years past. The crate was marked FPC, the Colonel's initials, Philip Fitzellen Chamberlain." Hastings raised an eyebrow. "So that explains the engraving. But why send it to Poirot?" Lord Alverstock's gaze darkened. Before his departure for Burma, Philip was about to marry, and he asked me to deliver this to his fiancée, one Miss Cecily Fairchild. She never received it. He perished overseas, and this artifact was presumed lost. Poirot nodded. "Miss Fairchild, daughter of the late Lord Fairchild of Sussex, if I recall." Lady Alverstock inclined her head. "Precisely. I located her last week in London at a widow's retreat. I thought Monsieur Poirot, with his gentle tact, could unravel the fate of this poor ball, why it was never delivered, and perhaps convey Philip's love posthumously." Hastings exchanged glances with Poirot. "A poignant mission, indeed." Poirot picked up the sphere, turning it gently. Colonel Chamberlain's talisman, perhaps intended to symbolize steadfastness on the cricket field of life. He tapped the pits with a slender nail. "But why iron? And why today this decade-lost token? Lord Alverstock's shoulders rose in a weary shrug. That I do not know. The crate bore no date beyond its seal, and the letters that accompanied it were too damaged to read. Poirot's eyebrows rose. Then our task is clear. We must visit Miss Fairchild, learn her recollections of Philip's plans, and decipher any hidden meaning in this sphere. With permission, I shall accompany you to London at once. Lord Alverstock reached for his journal. I shall fetch her address, and any correspondence that might have remained. You too have my deepest gratitude. As dusk settled, Poirot and Hastings retraced their steps to Chalbury Station, the iron sphere now tucked securely in Poirot's coat pocket. Hastings lit his pipe as the train eased eastward. From cursed cricket balls to lost love tokens, Hastings mused. I wonder what thread connects metal spheres and matters of the heart. Poirot's eyes gleamed. The heart, mon ami, often inscribes secrets where none appear. This sphere, long buried, may conceal a message of love or of betrayal. We shall soon know. He tapped his temple, and so our new mystery unfolds, one as tender as it is perplexing. As the wheels clicked into the night, 221B Baker Street beckoned, promising the next chapter in the curious case of the iron cricket ball. Chapter 2. The Widow's Secrets. The morning sun had just begun to gild the bustle of Mayfair, when Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings arrived at the elegant stuccoed façade of Fairchild House. A discreet knock brought them through polished oak doors into a hushed vestibule, where a housemaid in sober black guided them to a drawing-room suffused with pale light from mullioned windows. Silver tea service gleamed on, a mahogany table. Vases of white roses nodded in the soft breeze drifting through half-open casements. Moments later, a slender woman entered, graceful in her widow's weeds. Her face, framed by soft brown hair, was touched with gentle sorrow, yet her dark eyes held an unmistakable spark. Cecily Fairchild inclined her head in cautious welcome. Monsieur Poirot, Captain Hastings, thank you for coming. Pray be seated. Poirot bowed, seating himself in a wing-back chair. Hastings took the opposite seat. The housemaid discreetly withdrew. Poirot smiled kindly. Madame, Lord Alverstock entrusted us with Colonel Chamberlain's iron sphere, that you may learn its fate. We beg your recollections. He placed the ball upon the tea-table. It sat heavy and foreboding amid cups and saucers. Cecily's fingers trembled slightly as she reached for her teacup. She cleared her throat. Philip sent me gifts often, books, trinkets from his travels, but I never heard of an iron cricket ball. He spoke of surprising me before his departure to Burma, and promised a wedding ring in Devon upon his return. I assumed this object was such a surprise. Her voice faltered. I never received any parcel. My father's steward informed me the crate never arrived. Hastings exchanged a glance with Poirot. Strange indeed. Could an earlier delivery have been mislaid, madam? He poured tea into her cup. And did Colonel Chamberlain mention any cipher or puzzle to accompany the gift? Cecily sat down. The cup. No riddle, only a letter in Philip's hand torn. When the parcel was opened, I saved its fragments. She rose to fetch a small envelope from her writing desk, and returned, unfolding 2 brittle scraps of paper. Hastings smoothed them on his knee. Part of a letter. My dearest Cecily, Within this orb of iron lies not only strength, but the pattern of our home. Seek the fivefold arc and follow its curve to find what I hold most dear. Hurry, for time. The second fragment read, The key persists where shadows meet ledger lines. Fear not the hidden weight. Our promise endures beyond stones and years. Yours ever, P.C. Poirot studied the fragments, then the sphere's pits. Fivefold arc. The 5 dimples mirror your letter. Pattern of our home. Perhaps the arrangement echoes a family, crest, or beloved room. He held the ball between thumb and forefinger. And hidden weight suggests more than iron, something concealed within. Hastings leaned over the sphere and tapped it gently with a knuckle. The iron ball emitted a muted ring, then a faint click. Poirot's eyes sparkled. Listen, mon ami. A mechanism perfectly tuned. He pressed 2 pits together. The ball shifted, revealing a seam. Hastings gasped. The sphere opened to disclose a folded slip of parchment and a small key, old bronze glinting at its centre. Cecily clutched her hand to her heart. Philip's promise, a key, and a letter. She unfolded the slip, reading, My dearest, should this ball come to your hand, know that it guards our most cherished secret, the ledger of Devon Farm, where our fortunes began. Use the key to open the iron chest beneath the hawthorn tree, and there you shall find what ties us beyond time. Her voice trembled. The hawthorn tree, my family's old estate, the iron chest beneath its roots. Philip whispered of an heirloom box buried in the orchard. Poirot rose, cane in hand. Then, madame, your next destination is Devon. The sphere has delivered its hidden message, yet questions remain. Who intercepted the crate, and why delay its delivery? That must be answered, for this secret may have tempted those with darker designs. Cecily's eyes filled. You would accompany me to Devon. I cannot journey alone. She turned to Hastings. Captain Hastings, I would be honoured. Hastings rose, bowing gallantly. Madame, I shall ensure your safety. He glanced at Poirot, and Monsieur Poirot, the detective inclining his head. I too am at your service. We shall uncover the identity of the crate's thief and discover what mantle the ledger holds. He lifted the iron ball. For now, let us safeguard this sphere and key. Your passage shall be swift. Devon waits, and shadows may yet pursue us. That afternoon, after a light luncheon and careful packing, the trio embarked by coach toward the West Country, the iron sphere and key secured within Poirot's coat pocket. Hastings took the vacant seat beside Cecily, offering kind words as the carriage rattled through changing landscapes. The genteel squares of Mayfair giving way to rolling fields and hedgerows ablaze with autumn gold. Poirot sat facing them, cane across his knees. We travel tonight under cloak of dusk, for privacy against unwanted eyes. Madame, do you recall any disputes over your Devon property? Neighbouring landowners, perhaps, who coveted its orchards or antiquities? Cecily reflected. Only vague murmurs. My father's orchard yields fine cider, and in old journals Philip and I joked of family silver secreted in that chest. Who might wish to claim such goods? A distant cousin? A cunning solicitor? Hastings glanced at the windows. We shall make inquiries upon arrival, and until then We trusted the little grey cells and our combined courage to keep you safe. Night fell as the coach rumbled on beneath lamplit villages. Within, the iron sphere seemed to hum with promise and peril alike. Its secret revealed, yet its destiny still unwritten. As they sped westward, the trio felt the hush of something greater stirring, the uncovering of ancient bonds, the resolution of long-buried debts, and the final test of hearts bound by love, loyalty, and the enigmas concealed within an iron cricket. Bull. Chapter 3. Secrets Beneath the Hawthorn Tree. The coach rolled into the peaceful lanes of Devon beneath a waning harvest moon, its wheels crunching over gravel and fallen leaves as the wind carried the scent of orchard blossoms. Inside, Captain Hastings dozed beside Cecily Fairchild, her grip on a silk handkerchief tightening as she stirred. Poirot sat upright, cane in hand, eyes fixed upon the iron cricket ball's glowing patina. The bronze key's weight, a comforting promise in his coat pocket. At last, as lantern light shimmered against hedgerows, the driver reined in the horses before an ancient vine-clad gate. "Fairchild House," the driver announced, lighting a small lantern. "Your Devon estate, milady." Cecily peered through the window. The manor stood atop a gentle rise, its slate roof dark against the sky, tall chimneys like silent sentinels. A gravel path wound through a courtyard of gnarled apple trees, their twisted branches reaching in silhouette toward the moon. Cecil sighed, her breath catching in her throat. "It is unchanged, yet I feel the weight of decades in every stone." Hastings lifted her hand. "You're safe now, madame. We'll find that chest, and whatever it contains." Poirot slid from the coach, offering his hand to the driver. "Merci, mon ami." He followed Hastings to the coach's trunk, retrieving 3 sets of belongings. The sphere and key were carefully covered in a pocket handkerchief. As they approached the front door, 2 footmen emerged from the shadows, lanterns in hand, to aid Cecily down the steps. The door swung inward on ancient hinges to reveal a grand hall warmed by flickering logs in a wide hearth. Lady Fairchild's steward, Mr. Bishop, stood ready, bowed in respectful greeting. "My lady, Monsieur Poirot, Captain Hastings, welcome home," Bishop intoned. "Dinner is served in the great hall, and Mr. Fairchild's solicitor awaits your arrival on the terrace." His tone held a note of apprehension. Cecily managed a small smile. "Thank you, Bishop. Lead the way." She and Hastings followed him across a flagstone floor toward a long oaken table laden with a roast pheasant, buttery mash, and a fine claret. Poirot lingered by the hearth as the others sat. He studied the iron ball tucked beneath the folds of his cravat. The room's shadows flickered against tapestries depicting herons and hounds in regal hunt scenes. He sensed that every portrait and carving recorded the Fairchild family's storied past, and perhaps concealed clues to their present concerns. Conversation at table flowed politely. Hastings regaled Bishop with tales of rural cricket matches. Cecily explained how the orchard's cider production had thrived, and Poirot complimented the cook's pastry. Yet beneath the cordiality lay an unspoken tension: the missing chest, the lost letter fragments, and the solicitor's impending summons to the terrace. As dessert platters were cleared, Bishop announced, "Mr. Fairchild's solicitor, Mr. Thorne, requests your presence on the terrace." He escorted them down a corridor hung with ancestral portraits and opened a pair of French doors onto a moonlit terrace overlooking the orchard. There, under a high stone balustrade, stood a distinguished gentleman in a black frock coat, Mr. Andrew Thorne, solicitor to the Fairchild family. His pale face was lit by a single lantern. In his hand he held a narrow envelope. "Good evening, my lady gentlemen," Thorne began, bowing slightly. "I trust your journey was comfortable." He paused before handing Cecily the envelope. "This was discovered in the Manor's archives, among legal documents concerning your late father's will. It appears to be Colonel Chamberlain's letter, to you, intact at last." Cecily's hands trembled as she accepted the yellowing parchment. She unfolded it to reveal Philip's neat script. "My dearest Cecily, should my fate detain me far from your side, know that beneath the hawthorn tree you will find the ledger of our family's fortunes, silver, jewels, and memories. Guard it as you would my heart." A hush fell. Hastings offered his arm. "Well, now we have your letter, madam." Poirot studied Thorne, noting the solicitor's careful restraint. "And so we have motive, and perhaps the route to your treasure. Mr. Thorne, might you illuminate why this letter was hidden among your father's papers?" Thorne cleared his throat. "Your late father was meticulous in his estate's settlement. After Colonel Chamberlain's departure, this letter was misplaced in error, then rediscovered only during archival reorganization." He glanced at the sphere in Poirot's cravat. "I understand you have discovered the key that unlocks the chest." Poirot inclined his head. "Indeed, we must proceed to the orchard forthwith." Thorne nodded. "I will accompany you to witness the proceedings for legal certainty." The orchard lay silent under a gauzy layer of mist as Poirot, Hastings, Cecily, Mr. Thorne, and Bishop assembled before the ancient hawthorn tree. Its trunk was broad and knotty, roots pressed above the earth in thick coils. At its base, a flat stone, rectangular, edged in moss, suggested an unnatural covering. Cecily stepped forward, producing the bronze key, and pressed it into a small keyhole set into the stone. With a gentle turn, she heaved upwards, sliding the stone aside to reveal a recessed cavity. Within lay a small iron-bound chest, its wood warped with age but the metal fittings intact. Hastings knelt to lift it free. "Solid and secure," he murmured, setting it upon the grass. Poirot produced the iron sphere, setting it aside, and took the key. With a satisfying click, the chest's lid swung back, hinges groaning. Inside, nestled in faded velvet, lay a leather-bound ledger and a small velvet pouch. Cecily reached in to lift the ledger first. Its cover embossed Fairchild and Chamberlain estate. Records, the pages filled with meticulous accounts of orchard yields, land sales, and family trusts. Then she carefully shook the pouch, revealing a silver locket and a folded document sealed with red wax. Hastings opened the document. It was Philip's last will and testament, leaving his share of the Devon estate and all personal effects to Cecily, contingent upon her safe-keeping of the family's legacy. Cecily's voice broke. "Philip's ring, hidden here, in the locket." She opened it to reveal a simple gold band and a miniature portrait of Philip painted on ivory. Hastings pressed her hand gently. "He kept you close to his heart, even here." Poirot studied the ledger pages. These records confirm your family's prosperity. No hidden debts, no disputed shares. The chest was intended purely as an intimate repository. He turned to Thorn. I trust this satisfies your legal concerns, Mr. Thorn. The solicitor inclined his head with relief. It does indeed. I shall ensure the documents are filed, and the locket returned to your safekeeping, madam. Cecily snapped the chest lid closed, her expression one of bittersweet closure. My heart is full with answers, and empty for my Philip's absence. She placed the locket at her throat. But I shall honour his memory here, where our family's roots entwine. Under the ancient hawthorn's twisting boughs, Poirot and Hastings exchanged a confident nod. Hastings offered his arm to Cecily for the return to the manor. In the soft light, Poirot gathered the iron sphere from the grass. He turned it over in his hand, the 5 pits gleaming as if smiling. A most curious delivery, Captain, yet bearing a gift more precious than silver or earth. Hastings rested a hand on the sphere. An ingenious mechanism to guide love across time and shadow. Cecily halted by the orchard gate, turning to them in quiet gratitude. I cannot thank you enough for uncovering this secret. Without your persistence, I might never have known him beyond loss. Poirot bowed. Madame, it was our honour. May this chest's contents bring peace to your memory of Colonel Chamberlain. He pocketed the sphere as they stepped onto the dew-slick path leading back to the house. As the first light of dawn crept over Devon's rolling hills, Poirot, Hastings and Cecily returned to Fairchild House with hearts unburdened and mysteries resolved. Yet Poirot's mind, ever alert to the lingering ripples of human motive, already pondered what secrets lay ahead. For no stone would remain unturned for long in the world of Hercule Poirot. Chapter 4. The intercepted parcel, the time dawn, brushed, pale light against Fairchild House's honeyed facade. The events beneath the hawthorn tree had already set new wheels of inquiry in motion. After Mr. Thorne and Mr. Bishop filed away the newly recovered chest and Colonel Chamberlain's letter, Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings repaired to the manor's modest breakfast room. Cecily Fairchild sat between them, her silver locket resting on the table beside a cup of steaming tea. The mood was hopeful, yet beneath that optimism lay an urgent question. Who had waylaid the parcel destined for Cecily so many years ago? And why? Poirot dabbed his lip with a napkin and fixed Hastings with a quiet gaze. We must discover who intercepted that crate in Wiltshire and diverted it into the archives, only for it to re-emerge a decade hence. The motive may lie close to home. Hastings nodded, buttering a slice of toast. And Lady Fairchild's steward insisted no one else sent word of the crate's arrival, correct? Poirot tapped his saucer. Precisely. The manor's records show the crate arrived at the coach house only days after Colonel Chamberlain's departure, yet it was never delivered to your ladyship. That gap in the records suggests a hand within the household, or one of your father's trusted agents, diverted it. Cecily traced a fingertip around her teacup. My father's steward, Mr. Bishop, assured me nothing was ever found beneath the hawthorn tree until you arrived. He maintained that the crate remained sealed in the coach house until his recollection passed. Hastings folded his napkin. Bishop protested too much. We must speak to the staff from that season. Coachman, grooms, any servants present when the crate came. Poirot closed his eyes, moustaches quivering. And I would add an examination of the manor archives themselves. Perhaps entries or absences in the ledger will betray an unnamed hand. Once breakfast concluded, Bishop summoned his youngest, Footman, a nervous lad named Porter, who delivered the morning's post. Poirot beckoned him gently. "Porter, you have been with the household some years now. Do you recall any unusual arrivals or visitors at the coach-house in the summer of '29? The youth's eyes widened. "Well, sir, I was only 14 then, but Mr. Bishop once told me a trunk arrived for Miss Fairchild. It was heavy, wrapped in oiled canvas. But he said it was misaddressed and put away in the vault until the season's end." Hastings exchanged a glance with Poirot. "The vault, where Bishop keeps his state reserves?" "Yes, sir," Porter continued. "I never saw what was inside. A month later, when I asked, Mr. Bishop said it was nothing but linens and household goods." Poirot inclined his head. "Thank you, Porter. Your recollection is most helpful." Porter bowed and hurried away, still clutching a letter from the post. Hastings turned to Poirot. The vault, of course. It lay forgotten until the solicitor dug through for legal documents. Bishop likely hid the crate there deliberately. Poirot swept a hand through the air. And for what purpose? To conceal Colonel Chamberlain's gift, or to prevent its meeting with Miss Fairchild? The motive must be jealousy or financial gain. That afternoon they repaired to the manor's vast coach-house. Beneath its dour timber beams, rows of carriages and trunks stood silent amid straw sieves and stacking barrels. Poirot examined the oak vault door, its iron hasp still bearing traces of ancient rust and recent scratches. Hastings detected a single footprint in the dust, smaller than his own, likely the work of a slender boot. Poirot knelt, inspecting the sole, a pattern of concentric circles, uncommon among estate-work boots. "Observe, Captain, a maker's mark. We shall consult a cobbler to identify this pattern." Inside the vault, crates of old linens and leather sat in ordered rows. Bishop's ledger recorded which crates contained estate linens and which held trade samples, but no mention of an iron-bound parcel. Poirot unrolled the ledger and traced his fingertip along the dated entries. Here, on July 12th, the ledger notes unidentified package, cabin trunks. Yet no entry for July 13th, when the package should have moved on. He tapped the page. Bishop omitted the package's final disposition. This confirms he concealed its existence. Hastings frowned. "We must confront him." Poirot rose. "Not yet. Let us gather all facts. Next, we interview the groom, Thomas, who worked in the coach-house then, as well as the cobbler for the boot sole. Then we can build a case." Hastings nodded. "I'll fetch Thomas." Within the hour, Thomas arrived at the coach-house, a broad-shouldered man on leave from military service, his uniform crisp. Poirot greeted him with courtesy. "Thomas, you served here before the war. Do you recall a heavy crate addressed to Miss Fairchild, stored in the vault?" The groom's eyes darkened. "Indeed, sir. I helped stow it one afternoon. Mr. Bishop told me not to mention it. I thought it was a gift from Colonel Chamberlain. He was fond of Miss Cecily. But Mr. Bishop said some things were best kept quiet until proper time." Hastings leaned forward. "What did you think he meant?" Thomas exhaled. "I believed he spoke of the family fortune. Father Fairchild's will was under review, and Bishop feared a contested inheritance." Poirot considered this, so he hid Colonel Chamberlain's gift to prevent complications in the inheritance, and only produced the crate when legal wheels demanded its presence. Thomas nodded. "Yes, sir. I regret not saying so earlier." Satisfied, Poirot and Hastings returned to the Manor Library, conferring over the evidence. Hastings sipped whisky. So Bishop's motive was obstructing inheritance. Fearing Miss Fairchild's inheritance might be delayed by Colonel Chamberlain's bequest. Poirot tapped his knuckles. Exactly. But who stood to gain from delaying Miss Fairchild's inheritance? Perhaps a distant cousin, or a trustee appointed by Mr. Fairchild's will. Hastings snapped his fingers. "The solicitor, Mr. Thorne, he's a trustee." Poirot's eyes gleamed, and the bolt of luck is the boot sole pattern. It matches the custom footwear made by Penguin & Co. in Bath. Mr. Thorne's clerk, Mr. Martin, bought boots there when he clerked in the West Country. Hastings sprang up. Then Martin wielded Bishop's authority to misdirect the parcel at Thorne's behest. Poirot nodded. "We must confront Mr. Thorne and his clerk before they vanish with the family's trust." That evening they arranged a private meeting in the Manor's drawing-room. Mr. Thorne arrived, stern-faced, escorted by Martin, a young clerk clutching his satchel. Poirot opened in measured tones. "Mr. Thorne, Mr. Martin, evidence suggests you conspired with Mr. Bishop to conceal Colonel Chamberlain's crate, thereby delaying Miss Fairchild's rightful inheritance. Pray explain." Thorne's jaw clenched. "Detective, these are grave accusations. I trust you have proof." Poirot held aloft Bishop's ledger and Thomas's testimony. "Here, the vault entry. Here, the boot sole pattern matched to your clerk's order at Penguin & Co. And here, your signature on a destroyed invoice for an iron ball." He laid the iron sphere upon the table. Martin's face blanched. I was pressured to intercept the parcel, yes. Mr. Thorne feared that Miss Fairchild's inheritance would shrink the trusteeship fees. Thorne paled. "I only wished to protect the estate from legal wrangling. I never imagined Colonel Chamberlain's gift would mean so much." Poirot tapped his cane. "Nevertheless, you diverted a bequest of great personal significance, causing emotional harm to Miss Fairchild. The law will decide your penalty." Thorne swallowed. "I accept responsibility, detective." Hastings added, "Miss Fairchild's inheritance and Colonel Chamberlain's legacy shall now stand restored." After Martin's confession and Thorne's remorseful acquiescence, Bishop arrived to beg forgiveness. Poirot accepted his apology, noting the steward's tears. "Your sincerity is a step toward redemption. Let us now restore what was buried." They guided Bishop to produce Colonel Chamberlain's ledger and locket, which were ceremoniously returned to Cecily's trembling hands. As midnight approached, the conspirators' deeds were unmasked and pledged to right the past. Cecily clasped her locket with renewed purpose. Hastings offered her his arm. "Your inheritance is secure, madame, and Colonel Chamberlain's love honoured at last." Poirot watched the reunion with satisfaction. "So, mon ami, the mystery of the intercepted parcel is resolved. By tracing family motives, servant recollections, and a single boot print to its source." Hastings grinned. "Yet I suspect our little grey cells could have solved it even sooner had Bishop not hidden so clumsily." Poirot's moustache quivered with amusement. "Indeed, Captain, but the path to truth is often obscured by misplaced loyalty. And now that the ledger lies open, Fairchild House may finally rest in peace." Beyond the orchard's moonlit shadows and the sealed vault's secrets, a new chapter began for Cecily Fairchild, one freed from the weight of past deception, her inheritance and her colonel's promise preserved by the steadfast insight of Hercule Poirot and the unwavering support of Captain Hastings. Chapter 5. Shadows at Lord's Pavilion. A week had passed since the hawthorn tree chest yielded its treasures, and Colonel Chamberlain's long-lost letter delivered peace to Miss Fairchild's heart. Yet within the polished walls of Baker Street, Hercule Poirot sensed an echo of unrest beneath the calm. He sat in his armchair, the iron cricket ball cradled upon the small table before him, while Captain Hastings poured the Morning Post into a neat pile. "Mon ami," Poirot said, lifting the sphere with delicate care, "though our case concluded in Devon, I find this object still conceals secrets. Its surface seems too plain, yet it beckoned us with that encoded message. I wonder if its true purpose has even now emerged." Hastings frowned. "Surely the key opened the chest and delivered the letter. What more could this ball hold?" He offered Poirot a cup of Earl Grey. Poirot accepted the tea, watching the sphere's 5 dimples glint in lamplight. "Let us inspect it anew." He produced a jeweller's loop from his vest pocket and examined the indentation around one dimple. Under magnification, the smooth iron revealed faint micro-engraving. A slender archway flanked by 2 pillars. Hastings peered over his shoulder. An arch, perhaps the pavilion at Lord's Cricket Ground. Colonel Chamberlain played there once, did he not? Poirot's eyes sparkled. A plausible connection. FPC, Philip Fitzalan Chamberlain, and perhaps his final cryptogram points us to the pavilion's cornerstone, beneath which lay his heirloom chest, to be shared between Miss Fairchild and her family. But why not deliver that as well? He returned the sphere to the table. My little grey cells tell me we travel to London's hallowed turf. By that afternoon, Cecily Fairchild, escorted by Hastings and with Poirot guiding, alighted beneath Lord's famous facade. The air thrummed with summer's warmth and the distant crack of willow on leather. They paused before the elegant archway gate, its wrought-iron grillwork framing the manicured pitch beyond. Poirot handed Cecily the sphere. "Madame, I believe your colonel intended a final legacy. Not only the Devon chest, but also a family, jewel hidden within the ground where he savoured his beloved sport." He tapped the micro-engraving. "That archway in miniature is his gift to you." Cecily's breath caught. "But my inheritance lies in Devon, not here. And to dig at Lord's, why risk damage?" Hastings patted her hand gently. "Perhaps a small marker, sufficient for you to recover the treasure without disturbance. Poirot, do you propose we excavate?" Poirot smiled. "Discretion, mon ami. We shall first consult the pavilion curator under plausible guise, then observe the cornerstone by evening. Let us proceed." They crossed the gravel forecourt into the main stand, where they were directed to Mr. Langley, the curator. Poirot introduced them as guests of the Marylebone Cricket Club, interested in the ground's history, and wishing to view the archway gate's foundation. Langley, a grey-whiskered gentleman led them through hushed corridors, sharing anecdotes of matches past. At last they reached the arch's rear, where Langley gestured to a neatly mortared base. Poirot examined the masonry. Notice here, under the lower right pillar, the mortar differs in hue, and here he pointed to a faint engraving matching the sphere's dimple, a small arrow carved in shadow. Langley's eyes widened. Remarkable! I never noticed. That stone replaced 30 years ago after subsidence. No one remarked the arrow then. Hastings grinned. A fortunate repair for Colonel Chamberlain's scheme. Poirot bowed. Madame, may I suggest a moment alone to inspect this marker? Langley and Hastings withdrew to the gallery's safety, while Poirot and Cecily knelt by the pillar. Cecily pressed the sphere's rim against the arrow's point. The iron warmed beneath her palm. She slid the sphere sideways. It caught in a slot between stone and brick. With a soft click, a hidden panel swung outward just enough to reveal a slender cavity. Within lay a small locket box. Not the silver locket found in Devon, but a second velvet pouch, crimson in hue. Cecily's fingers shook as she withdrew it. Inside, wrapped in crepe paper, lay a gold signet ring set with a single garnet. Engraved on its underside was the Chamberlain crest, flanked by the Fairchild Rose. Cecily held the ring aloft, tears shining. Philip's promise, an emblem of our union, hidden beneath the pavilion where he played. She slid the ring onto her finger. My heart is truly his, mon ami. Poirot placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. His final gift, madame, and one he wished you to claim beneath the very ground of his passion. He replaced the sphere in Hastings's hatbox. Now, mon ami, the iron ball has served its purpose. We must return it to Colonel Chamberlain's family archives, for it is no longer needed. Langley returned, astonished at the ring's appearance. Hastings explained as Poirot refined the panel and replaced the stone. MCC will ensure preservation of this marker, Langley promised. That evening, back at Baker Street, Cecily joined, Poirot and Hastings by the hearth. She clutched both the Devon locket and the new ring as if they were one. You have given me more than inheritance, she said softly. You have reunited me with my love's heart. Hastings offered champagne, to Colonel Chamberlain and to new beginnings. Poirot raised his glass, to love's steadfast orb, once iron, now transformed by truth and trust. He tapped his goblet with a spoon, moustache quivering with pride. As corks pop echoed softly, Mrs. Hudson entered with supper. The three companions dined on cold, roast chicken and salads, laughter replacing the hush of investigation. Cecily next morning would return to Devon, her heart light with resolved history and new hope. Hastings would resume his civilian duties, and Poirot, his little grey cells sated once more, would tuck the iron ball away among his curiosities, a testament to love's enduring power. Outside, moonlight glimmered on the Thames. Within, 221B, Baker Street glowed warm and welcoming, proof that every mystery, however small the sphere, can open the deepest chambers of the heart. Chapter 6. Justice in the Garden. The autumn sun swung low over Fairchild House as the final pieces of Colonel Chamberlain's legacy fell into place. In the dew-fresh orchard, Cecily Fairchild stood beneath the ancient hawthorn tree, her husband-to-be, Captain Hastings, at her side, and Hercule Poirot a respectful step behind. The assembled household, Mr. Bishop, the steward, Mr. Thorne, the solicitor, and a handful of long-serving grooms and footmen, watched with quiet reverence. Today all debts would be settled, all wrongs righted beneath the twisting boughs where love's promise had first been buried. Poirot cleared his throat gently. "Madame, Captain, loyal friends, we gather to witness the closure of a decade-old mystery and the restoration of your full inheritance and honour." He turned to Bishop, whose eyes glistened in the morning light. "Mr. Bishop, you played an unwitting part in concealing Colonel Chamberlain's parcel. Will you now speak the truth of your actions?" The steward bowed his head. "Monsieur Poirot, I was faithful to my orders. Mr. Thorne, as trustee, directed me to store the parcel in the vault until revisions to the will were complete. I believed him acting in the family's best interests." He glanced at Cecily. "I beg your forgiveness, Miss Fairchild." Cecily stepped forward, hand on her heart. "Bishop, you served my father faithfully. I forgive your error in judgment." She reached out to touch the steward's sleeve. "Thank you for keeping the parcel safe, even if hidden." Hastings patted Bishop's shoulder. "Your loyalty is clear, sir. Let this day bring you peace." Poirot inclined his head, then addressed Mr. Thorne, who stood stiffly by. "And you, Mr. Thorne, Colonel's solicitor and trustee, what led you to believe concealment necessary?" Thorne's shoulders sagged. "I feared challenges to the estate that would embroil my late employer's affairs in scandal. I thought delaying news of Colonel Chamberlain's bequest would simplify matters. I was wrong." He produced a folded document. "Here, I renounce all trustee fees owed me and resign as executor. I offer this ring." He lifted Cecily's signet ring back to its rightful owner as token of my contrition. Cecily accepted the ring with a gentle nod. "Thank you, Mr. Thorne. Your honesty now does more to uphold my family's honour than any concealment could." Poirot placed a hand upon the steward's ledger, now open to the entry recording Bishop's vault storage. "Let this serve as record that every action taken in error has been confessed and forgiven, and that truth has prevailed." He met Cecily's eyes. "Madame, your inheritance lies restored. The Devon estate, Colonel Chamberlain's share, and your rightful place as steward of both." At that moment, Hastings stepped forward with a small parcel wrapped in ribbon. "And this," he said, handing it to Cecily, "arrived by registered courier this morning." She untied the ribbon to find a leather-bound diary in Colonel Chamberlain's hand. Inside were daily entries, his hopes, his fears, and his final expressions of love. Cecily's lips trembled as she read the opening line. "If fate should sunder our days, let these words connect our souls beyond all distance." Tears glistened in her eyes as Hastings slipped an arm around her shoulders. "He lives on in every page, my darling." A murmur of soft applause rose among the assembled staff. Poirot allowed himself a small smile. "In this way, Colonel Chamberlain's voice will speak forever in your heart, madame, and his legacy of courage, love, and fidelity shall guide you always." Mr. Bishop closed the ledger, and Mr. Thorne stepped back, head bowed. Chitkish guided Cecily to place the diary within the iron chest, alongside the Devon ledger, the silver locket, and the signet ring. As the chest's lid clicked shut, Poirot tapped his cane to mark the moment. "Now," he pronounced, "the story is complete." He turned to face them all. "Let us go inside the manor, where a modest feast awaits, in celebration of truth, forgiveness, and new beginnings." Inside the great hall, long tables were set with platters of roast pheasant, autumn root vegetables, and silver bowls of cider-poached pears. Cecily and Hastings took their seats at the head, flanked by Poirot and the contrite Mr. Thorne and Bishop. As the first courses were served, Bishop lifted a glass of claret. "To Miss Fairchild," he toasted, voice quavering, "may your days be filled with joy, and your heart ever guided by truth." The assembled household joined in heartfelt applause. Cecily smiled through tears. "To loyal service and to the wisdom of forgiveness." Hastings raised his own glass. "To love unfettered by time or deception, and to the steadfast little grey cells that saw us through." Poirot sipped his wine, moustache quivering in satisfaction. "To courage and honesty, may they ever light our way." He paused, then added, "And to new horizons, madam. A family strengthened, a legacy secured, and a heart at peace." Laughter and conversation filled the hall as warm candlelight flickered across polished wood. Outside, the hawthorn tree stood, sentinel under a silver moon, its roots deep in Devon soil, a fitting guardian for secrets that had at last been set free. And within Fairchild House, Cicely's laughter mingled with the clink of crystal, heralding an inheritance restored and a future bright with promise. Chapter 7. Epilogue of the Iron Sphere. The late November sun filtered through the stained glass windows of Fairchild House, casting a patchwork of ruby and amber across the polished floors of the drawing-room. Outside, the wind rustled the last of the orchard leaves, sending them skittering around the hawthorn tree where love's promise had been unearthed and restored. Inside, a small gathering, family, close friends, and just a few of the household staff, assembled to witness the final legacy of Colonel Philip Fitzallen Chamberlain, the donation of his iron cricket ball to Fairchild House as a permanent heirloom. Hercule. Poirot stood by the mantelpiece, his moustaches quivering in quiet satisfaction, while Captain Hastings leaned against a side table, tiptoeing toward a half-hidden smile. Cecily Fairchild, now Lady Hastings by her forthcoming marriage, sat in an armchair beside her parents' portraits, her silver locket and gold signet ring gleaming at her throat. Mr. Bishop the steward, neat in his morning coat, and Mr. Thorne, bridging the divide between contrite solicitor and humbled guest, stood discreetly near the hearth. Poirot raised his cane gently to call for attention. "Mes amis, today we complete the circle of Colonel Chamberlain's gifts. The Devon chest beneath the hawthorn tree, the ring beneath Lord's archway, and finally this iron cricket ball, which led us on a journey of mystery, love, and redemption." He nodded to Bishop, who produced from a velvet case the iron sphere, now polished to a silvery sheen. "Let this ball remain here, on this mantle, as testament to renewed trust and fidelity." Cecily rose to her feet. Her voice, soft but sure, filled the room. "My friends, I accept Colonel Chamberlain's gift, once a hidden token, now a cherished emblem of his devotion and our family's restored honour." She touched the sphere, her fingertips tracing the 5 dimples. "I vow to guard it here, where future generations may wonder at its history and find inspiration in its story. Captain Hastings stepped forward, clearing his throat, and I, as guardian of Miss Fairchild, and soon as her husband, declare this ball to be emblem of our union, strong, enduring, and shaped by trials overcome. He inclined his head to Cecily, who smiled through tears as she joined him in the centre of the circle. Poirot gestured gracefully to Mr. Thorne. Mr. Thorne, as trustee turned penitent, do you wish to say a few words? The solicitor swallowed, then stepped forward, voice steady. I offer my apologies for the wrong in concealing this sphere and Colonel Chamberlain's message. I pledge to support Lady Hastings and to ensure that this heirloom and every document of her legacy remains with her heirs in perpetuity. He replaced the sphere upon the mantel, locking the velvet case within a glass display box affixed to the wood. A hush settled, broken only by the crackle of the fire. Bishop produced a folded ribbon of crimson satin, and Hastings cut it with a small silver penknife. The ribbon fell away, revealing the sphere encased behind glass, its presence at last honourable and unforgotten. Poirot stepped forward once more. Thus we close this chapter of the Iron Sphere, its journey from concealed crate to mantelpiece display. Yet let us not forget the lessons it taught, that love, like iron, may endure rust and neglect, but it can be reforged by truth and forgiveness. May this ball inspire future stewards of Fairchild House to uphold those virtues. With that, a gentle applause rose, warm as autumn sunlight. Lady Hastings returned to her seat as Bishop ushered in a small tray of champagne flutes. Sn raised his glass, to love rediscovered, and to friendship that endures beyond any mischance. Cecily and Poirot raised theirs in unison. Later, as the guests drifted into the library for tea and cakes, Poirot and Hastings lingered in the now empty drawing-room. Poirot gazed at the iron sphere, its 5 dimples glowing softly in the afternoon light. Hastings, he mused, this sphere, once a simple novelty, has carried us through secrets of the heart, legal intrigue, and acts of redemption. It stands as proof that the smallest object may hold the largest mysteries. Hastings nodded, settling into an armchair. And that every mystery solved brings people closer, binding them in trust. I'm glad this is the last of our cricket. Balls for a while. Poirot's moustaches twitched with amusement. Perhaps, Captain. Yet who can know what the next parcel might contain? A silver bat, a golden wicket. Life, like cricket, is full of surprises. As dusk settled over Fairchild House and the orchard shadows lengthened, the two friends sipped their tea in companionable silence. Outside, the hawthorn tree stood bare against the mauve sky, roots deep, branches reaching upward, much like the legacies they had aided in uncovering, and within, the iron cricket ball gleamed from its place of honour, a silent sentinel to love's enduring power, and the unerring compass of truth that had guided them all. Chapter 8. A new Innings Spring's first breeze in London carried a hint of blossoms from the city's chestnut trees, and the sun slanted golden through 221B Baker Street's windows as Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings sat down to their morning tea. Hastings, polishing his wedding band, an heirloom of Colonel Chamberlain's legacy, grinned across the table. Hard to believe, Poirot, that it's been nearly half a year since Cecily and I took our vows beneath the Devon sky. Poirot nodded, adjusting the tiny silver compass pin upon his lapel. Time's swift current carries us from triumph to tranquillity, yet I sense another stirring in the air, a fresh pursuit of justice hidden in plain sight. He tapped his teacup, thoughtfully. We have not played at Lord's since the unveiling of the Iron Sphere. Perhaps a new mystery awaits within those venerable pavilions. Hastings chuckled. You yearn for a crack of willow on leather, do you? Very well. Cecily and I shall accompany you to the first test match of the season. But do promise me a gentler caper than parcel theft and secret vaults. Poirot's moustache quivered in amusement. Gentle or otherwise, Captain, one never knows where the ball may bounce. He stood and donned his spring coat. Let us take the midday train. This afternoon's play begins under fair skies. By early afternoon, Lord's cricket ground thrummed with anticipation. The scent of freshly mown turf mingled with the murmur of well-dressed spectators. Hastings escorted a radiant Lady Hastings down the pavilion steps, while Poirot surveyed the scene from beneath his deerstalker. Cecily's smile sparkled as she greeted old friends. Hastings slipped a programme into Poirot's hand. First test. England versus Australia. Hastings whispered. A classic rivalry. What better backdrop for intrigue? Poirot scanned, the players taking to the field and the dignitaries in the members' lawn. Observe, Hastings, the captain of the Australian side, Mr. Thomas Waddington, carries himself with more than sporting pride. He seems anxious. Note the tension in his shoulders as he consults his teammates. Ahead, Waddington's opening partner fumbled a warm-up catch. A ripple of laughter rose, but Waddington's eyes flicked sharply to the pavilion. Poirot followed his gaze to a figure in a dark cloak, seated alone. A tall woman with auburn hair, gloved hands clasped in her lap. A visitor, Hastings noted, but unfamiliar. She was not present at the opening ceremony. Poirot sipped his tea. Let us watch. He and Hastings found seats among the members' lawn, near that stranger. As the match commenced, they kept one eye on the pitch, and the other on the cloaked woman, whose gaze never wavered from Waddington. With the crack of bat on ball, the first over began. England's bowler, Mr. Julian Marks, delivered a fast, swinging delivery that Waddington drove firmly through mid-off for 4 runs. The crowd cheered, but the woman's expression remained inscrutable. During the interval, Hastings approached the stranger. Madam, forgive my intrusion, but are you acquainted with the Australian captain? She turned, revealing startling green eyes beneath her hood. I am Helena Fairchild, cousin to Lady Hastings by her paternal line. Hastings started. Cousin Helena, I did not know of your arrival. Helena inclined her head. I arrived, by late train, wishing to support my cousin and, if possible, Mr. Waddington. But I fear he is troubled, and I came to offer counsel. Poirot joined them, bowing. Madam, might I ask what concerns you regarding Mr. Waddington? His play appears steady, yet you stand at a distance. Helena hesitated, gloved fingers twisting. Thomas and I were close in Melbourne. I feared a scandal would mar his visit here, a scandal concerning match-fixing rumours that follow him from home. Hastings gasped. Match-fixing? At this level? Helena's eyes flickered. Whispers Captain. Some claim Waddington accepted. Wagers through intermediaries. He's played impeccably all season, but the rumours persist. I came to clear his name if I can. Poirot's eyes gleamed. Aha! Then our next new innings may lie in separating truth from rumour across the crease of sport. As play resumed, Poirot observed Helena from the corner of his eye. She rose and approached the scorer's box, slipping a note inside before retreating. Hastings leaned in. She's planting evidence or a plea, no doubt. Poirot nodded. We must recover that note and learn its contents. At the end of the session, when players retired for tea, Poirot and Hastings slipped behind the pavilion. The scorer's box door stood slightly ajar. Inside lay a ledger of over-by-over scores, and atop it the note Helena had placed, a single sheet scribbled in hurried ink. Thomas, trust me, your honour means more than any wager. Meet me by the old pavilion entrance at the close of play, and we shall clear this stain together. H.F. Poirot scanned the note. A message from Helena confirming her allegiance, but she never gave it to him directly. Why leave it here? Hastings shrugged, perhaps to avoid scrutiny. But does Waddington know of this? Poirot folded the note. We must ask. They found Waddington in the players' lounge, removing pads and gloves. He looked tired, eyes shadowed. Hastings stepped forward. Mr. Waddington, a Miss Helena Fairchild left this for you. Might you read it? Waddington's brow knotted as he read. Miss Fairchild. She was my confidant in Melbourne. I had no idea she'd follow me here. He crumpled the note. I cannot let rumours unsettle me before this match. Thank her, then see her away from this place. Hastings hesitated, then said, Poirot, this scandal seems contrived. Shall we investigate? Poirot's moustache twitched. Indeed, rumours of match-fixing require proof, either of bribery or innocence. We shall watch the players, the bookmakers in the stands, and consult the umpires' logs. In the final hours of play, Poirot and Hastings stationed themselves at the southern end, near the betting tents. Hastings strolled among the punters, discreetly inquiring about odds changes on Waddington's wicket. Meanwhile, Poirot approached a shifty-looking bookmaker, Mr. Carrow, mid-transaction. Carrow's eyes flickered at Poirot's approach. Evening, monsieur. Can I help you? Poirot smiled. Only curious. How did Waddington's odds shift after he scored that first boundary? And who placed the wagers? Carrow's lips curled. Odds fluctuate, sir. Nothing suspicious. Poirot produced a small notebook. I have here a list of significant bets placed 10 minutes before that boundary. Would you like to explain those? Carrow paled and turned away, muttering. Poirot pocketed the list. Names of 3 local dignitaries, none high profile. Hastings rejoined him, eyes bright. We have betters and Helena's note, but the final piece is Waddington's own reaction. Did he place any bets himself? Poirot, Ede shook his head. Unlikely. Let us await the match's conclusion. As the sun dipped below the stands, Waddington took the wicket in the final over. No sign of nervousness, only steely resolve. The crowd erupted in cheers. Helena appeared at the old pavilion entrance, face alight with relief. She approached Waddington amid the throng. He greeted her with a heartfelt embrace. Hastings and Poirot watched their reunion. Scandal laid to, rest in a single innings of excellence. Later, in the pavilion's quiet corridor, Poirot confronted Caro once more. "You orchestrated these rumours, monsieur, hoping to profit from misplaced wagers. But Waddington's talent silenced you." He tapped the betting list. "I shall send this to the MCC committee. You may face censure, if not prosecution." Caro's shoulders slumped. "I only sought to recoup losses, foolishly." Poirot patted his lapel. "A lesson learned, monsieur." That evening Cecily and Hastings joined Poirot at the long-room bar, glasses of champagne in hand. The iron sphere and signet ring stood displayed in the glass case behind them, symbols now of love and honour, not intrigue. Hastings raised his glass to Captain Waddington, whose batting laid to rest the rumours, and to Miss Fairchild for her courage. Poirot lifted his own. "To sport's purity, Captain, and to the invisible wicket of honesty that guards it." He paused, "and to the next ball that flies beyond shadow, landing in the bright sunlight of truth." As they clinked glasses, the echo of leather on willow drifted from the pitch, mingling with joyous laughter from the members' lawn. In that sound lay the promise that every game, like every mystery, offers a chance to set things right, under the watchful eyes of both umpire and detective, and with the steadfast grace of the little grey cells. Chapter 9. The Night Raid. Summer's first fireflies had begun their dance in the Devon orchard, when Fairchild House's newest heirloom, the iron cricket ball, was installed in its glass case upon the drawing-room mantel. By day, sunlight gleamed through mullioned windows onto the sphere's polished dimples. By night, the hearth's embers cast flickering shadows. Yet, on this particular evening, as Sir Bishop's grandfather clock chimed 10, those shifting shadows would bear witness to a brazen affront against Colonel Chamberlain's legacy. Captain Hastings and his wife, Lady Hastings, née Fairchild, had retired early, confident in the security of both hearth and heirloom. Hercule Poirot, however, lingered in the drawing-room, cigar-tipped pipe in hand, polishing the signet ring now displayed beside the sphere. "Mon ami," he murmured to Bishop, who stood sentinel by the hearth, "tonight I shall remain as watchful as the iron ball itself." Bishop, in his sober black coat, bowed gravely. "Madame and Monsieur have entrusted this treasure to our care, detective. My night watch shall not fail." Poirot settled into his armchair before the case, eyes half closed but alert. Beyond, the leaded glass tree branches whispered in the breeze, and somewhere in the distance a barn owl's soft hoot echoed. Time passed in measured silence until, at a preternatural stillness of the hour, a crash like ice upon marble rent the quiet. Bishop leapt forward, lantern in hand, and swept the room with its trembling glow. The iron ball's glass enclosure lay shattered, fragments glittering upon the rug. The sphere itself was gone. Hastings and Lady Hastings arrived, roused by the alarm. "Mon Dieu!" Hastings exclaimed, kneeling among the glass shards. "They've stolen the sphere!" "Lady," Hastings pressed a glove to her mouth. "Who would dare?" Poirot rose, cane in hand, and surveyed the scene with calm precision. "Notice, Captain, the iron ball is lifted, not broken. A deliberate act by one familiar with its weight and placement." He examined the broken case's hinge. "See here, marks of a small pointed instrument, possibly a jeweller's screwdriver." He removed a thin shard of glass and placed it in an envelope. Preserve these fragments. They contain prints if we act swiftly. Bishop sniffed. I did not hear footsteps in the corridor, sir. Poirot's gaze swept the room. Nor I, yet someone moved with practised stealth. Let us examine the entry points. He advanced to the French doors opening onto the terrace. Hastings followed. The wooden latch bore a faint smear of mud, and footprints, just two, marred the flagstones leading toward the orchard. Poirot knelt, tracing the sole impressions, a distinctive heel and an oval brogue pattern. He rose. Our thief fled this way. Licks. Hastings swallowed. Go, quickly, before they vanish among the trees. They donned cloaks from the hall stand and followed Bishop into the moonlit orchard. The grass was slick with dew. Every footstep threatened audible betrayal. Poirot encouraged. Haste. Follow the trail, mon ami, but remain silent. He and Hastings advanced, lantern in hand, while Lady Hastings remained with Bishop at the terrace, ready to alert the household should the thieves return. The footprints led past the hawthorn, tree to a side gate, its lock unsnapped. Beyond, the coach-house stood dark, silhouette unchanged since the clearing of Colonel Chamberlain's legacy. Hastings halted. They've used the coach-house as a shortcut, toward the road and departure. Poirot shone the lantern on the gate latch. Observe this, an additional scratch, not made by Bishop's key, but by a slender implement. Tursel, burglar possessed two tools. Hastings exhaled. We must catch them before they reach the road. They pressed on into the lane, lanterns bobbing. Poirot's keen eyes sought more impressions. Here, two more prints closer together, smaller and deeper. He knelt, brushing away damp leaves to reveal a delicate sole. A woman's mule, open-heeled rather than booted. Intriguing. A second burglar, a woman to assist or distract. Hastings's jaw tightened. Let us split up, cover more ground. Poirot shook his head. No. One pair of footprints leads to the village. The other returns to the estate. We must follow the duo together. He tapped the lantern. Proceed with care. They approached the darkened cottages of Oakhurst village. Windows shuttered against the night chill. No sign of life stirred. Hastings paused. I see a figure beneath the lamp outside the inn. He raised his voice. Who's there? A woman bolted from the lamplit spot, twirling a silk scarf overhead as she fled northward. Hastings lunged forward, but slipped in the mud, losing precious seconds. Poirot pressed on, strides measured, until he caught sight of the scarf's flutter as it disappeared around a bend. Hastings regained footing and joined him. Poirot's lips twitched. Mon Dieu! The scarf's pattern matches Mrs. Turner's wardrobe. Odisert made in Fairchild House. Hastings's eyes widened. Mrs. Turner? She served Lady Hastings for years. Poirot pointed. Look, her footprints return to the orchard. They raced back past the inn, along the lane's edge, until the path cut back beneath the Fairchild House gates. There, beside a sycamore, lay a discarded scarf and a jeweller's screwdriver. Hastings picked them up, heart pounding. So Mrs. Turner conspired in this theft. Poirot exhaled. She removed her mules at the orchard's edge, retraced in, brogues to the coach-house, and her accomplice, a man whose brogue pattern we saw at the terrace. He held the screwdriver aloft. They had two roles, one to unlock the case, the other to carry the sphere away. He scanned the darkness. We must return to the terrace before they make their final escape by carriage. Back on the terrace, Lady Hastings and Bishop stood, shivering. Hastings called, "We have proof." Poirot set down the scarf and screwdriver. Our burglars, Mrs. Turner and a man, likely a coachman or groom with brogue boots, fetch Bishop's keys, lock the gates, and summon the household. He advanced to the front door and called for the footman to barricade the entrance. Within minutes, lantern light flickered through windows as staff gathered. Poirot, Hastings, and Lady Hastings took their positions by the front door. Moments later, at the lodge gate's rusted chain, two figures in cloaks and mufflers approached, Mrs. Turner and the captain of the coach-house, Mr. Thomas Sawyer. Mrs. Turner's face was a mask of wrath. Sawyer's shoulders slumped, eyes downcast. Poirot opened the door calmly. "Madam, you held this position of trust for years, and you, Mr. Sawyer, lent your skills in the coach-house. Yet you chose betrayal." He gestured to the scarf and screwdriver. Evidence enough. Hastings stepped forward. "I arrest you both for burglary and breach of trust." Sawyer offered no resistance. Mrs. Turner clutched her shawl, tears mingling with anger. "We had no choice," she wailed. Poirot raised a hand. "Speak, then. Why steal the iron ball?" Mrs. Turner sobbed. I owed gambling debts. Sawyer did too. We planned to sell the sphere at the antique fair and pay our dues." Sawyer added, voice trembling. "We never meant harm to Lady Hastings, only to clear our names." Hastings glared. "By stealing from the family you served?" Mrs. Turner's shoulders shook. I'm sorry." Poirot regarded them both with measured compassion. The sphere symbolized love and honor. You desecrated that trust. He turned to Bishop. "Take them into custody." Hastings bound their hands with spare cords, while the household looked on in shocked silence. Later, after the culprits were handed over to the local constable, Poirot, Hastings, and Lady Hastings sat once more by the empty glass case. The shards had been cleaned. The sphere itself was carefully laid beneath a velvet cloth. Hastings exhaled. What an inglorious return to security. Lady Hastings pressed his hand. "Still, we are safe, and the sphere's legacy remains untarnished." Poirot smiled gently. "Indeed, Captain, this night's innings taught us that even the strongest bonds can be tested, and the smallest heirloom may reveal the deepest need. Yet truth and justice stand firm, and so does trust renewed." He produced a small note from his waistcoat. "Lady Hastings, this arrived from Colonel Chamberlain's sister in Melbourne. She writes that another iron sphere, this one hollow, has been donated to the MCC Museum to balance the legacy on both sides of the world." He tapped his temple. "Ever watchful, mon ami, for the next twist in our eternal game of shadows and light." As dawn crept upon the orchard, the three companions felt a quiet triumph. The iron cricket ball would remain where it belonged, its dimples reflecting the trials overcome, and the enduring power of honour restored under Fairchild House's watchful eaves. Chapter 10. The Return of the Iron Sphere. A pale November dawn crept over Fairchild House, its golden light illuminating the freshly broken glass of the drawing-room case. Captain Hastings, rousing from a restless sleep, found Hercule Poirot already astir at the window, his silhouette framed by the pale sky. "Mon ami," Hastings began, "have you any news of last night's thieves?" Poirot turned, moustache poised. "Indeed, Captain. The local constabulary, guided by our evidence, apprehended Mrs. Turner and Mr. Thomas Sawyer at the Chichester crossroads. They attempted to dispose of the iron sphere amid mud and bracken." He reached into his coat and produced a small parcel, the sphere wrapped in a handkerchief, its dimples glinting. I retrieved the sphere from the roadside, still warm with their guilt. Hastings exhaled in relief. "Then the heirloom is safe at last." He accepted the parcel, cradling the iron ball as if it were a fragile treasure. "Yet our work is not complete," Poirot cautioned. "We must hold a proper hearing here at Fairchild House to restore trust among the household and determine Mrs. Turner and Sawyer's fate. Moreover, we must ensure no accomplices remain hidden." Later that morning, Fairchild House's great hall was prepared for a private tribunal. The long oaken table was cleared, save for a modest inkstand and ledger. Bishop stood at one end, Mrs. Turner and Sawyer in custody to his right, Captain Hastings and Lady Hastings to his left. Poirot took his place at the head, cane in hand, with Hastings at his side. A handful of household staff, maids, grooms, the coachman, and Mr. Thorne the solicitor stood witness. Poirot began in calm tones. "Last evening, upon the theft of Colonel Chamberlain's iron sphere, we discovered the culprits to be Mrs. Ellen Turner, your long-time housemaid, and Mr. Thomas Sawyer, the coach-house foreman. Their motive, gambling debts that they sought to settle by selling the sphere." He paused, letting the gravity sink in. "We have recovered the sphere intact, yet the breach of trust demands accountability." Mrs. Turner's shoulders trembled as she stepped forward. "Monsieur Poirot, I beg your forgiveness, and that of Lady Hastings. I acted in desperation, blinded by debts I could not repay." Hastings softened. "Mrs. Turner, you served this household faithfully for years. You deserve the chance to explain fully." With a shuddered breath, Mrs. Turner continued, "I tried to plead with Mr. Sawyer. At first I refused, but he threatened to reveal my debts to Lady Hastings, to have me dismissed and disgraced. I panicked. We saw the sphere displayed and believed it would bring enough money at the antique fair. We never meant harm beyond that, and we left without violence." Her tear-streaked face reflected genuine regret. Poirot nodded gravely. "Your confession is appreciated, madam. Mr. Sawyer, do you confirm her words?" Sawyer, head bowed, nodded. "Yes, detective, I convinced her to aid me. I have nothing left but remorse." Poirot turned to Bishop and Thorne. "Though our thieves acted without malice toward the family, their crime is serious. Breaking and entry, breach of trust, attempted theft of family property. Yet they have shown contrition. I propose a twofold resolution. First, restitution of their debts through employment under strict oversight. Second, public acknowledgement of their crime and contrition before Lady Hastings and the household." Lady Hastings rose, her voice gentle yet firm. "I forgive you both, Mrs. Turner and Mr. Sawyer, for your distress led you astray. I offer you continued employment, Mrs. Turner in a less exposed role, Mr. Sawyer assisting the groundskeeping staff. But you will attend financial counselling and make amends through honest work. Mrs. Turner's cheeks blanched, then flushed with hope. Thank you, my lady. I vow to restore your trust. Sawyer bowed his head. I am grateful. I will redeem myself, Captain Hastings added, and I shall personally oversee your progress, ensuring you receive fair compensation and the chance to repay your debts through service. Poirot offered a final word. Let the record show that justice here is tempered by mercy. Colonel Chamberlain's sphere returns to its honoured place, and 2 souls are given the opportunity to rebuild their lives. May the iron's resilience inspire their own. That afternoon, the glass case was repaired, and the iron sphere placed once more upon the mantel beneath its protective dome. Poirot inspected the work with satisfaction, as Bishop and Hastings checked the lock's mechanism. Safe and secure, Hastings declared, turning the key. The sphere's 5 dimples glowed in the filtered light. As evening fell, Poirot, Hastings, and Lady Hastings reconvened in the drawing-room. Mrs. Turner and Sawyer stood in the background, performing simple tasks under Bishop's observation. Hastings poured port into 3 glasses. 2 second chances, he toasted, raising his glass to them. Lady Hastings smiled warmly. 2 forgiveness. Poirot raised his glass last, touching it to the sphere's glass enclosure. And to justice, guided by compassion, may we carry these lessons forward. He sipped, eyes ever watchful. Later, as Mrs. Turner quietly closed the shutters and Sawyer secured the door, the household settled into renewed harmony. The iron sphere, once a pawn in desperation, now stood as testament to trust restored. And, in the heart of Fairchild House, beneath the hawthorn tree's watchful boughs, the echoes of Colonel Chamberlain's legacy continued to guide those who honoured both its strength and its vulnerability. Outside, the wind rustled through late autumn, leaves. Within, the little grey cells of Hercule Poirot found contentment in a mystery concluded, and in the knowledge that even the darkest misdeeds may yield to the gentlest touch of mercy and truth. Chapter 11. Vindication at Lord's the gas lamps. Along St. John's Wood Road still burned when Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings made their way through the shadowed archway of Lord's cricket ground. A chill. November wind rustled the autumn leaves at their feet, carrying with it the distant murmur of early morning traffic and the promise of Justice's final innings. Today, the Marylebone Cricket Club's special committee would convene in the members' pavilion to review the evidence of match-fixing rumours and the theft of Colonel Chamberlain's iron sphere. For Captain Thomas Waddington, his reputation, and perhaps his career, hinged upon the findings. Poirot adjusted his overcoat with characteristic precision and tapped his cane lightly against the flagstones. Mon ami, this morning marks the ultimate resolution of 2 mysteries entwined by sport and sentiment, the integrity of the game and the sanctity of Colonel Chamberlain's legacy. Let us be swift and thorough. Hastings nodded, his own gait brisk despite the cold. Aye, Poirot, Waddington deserves to see his name cleared, and Caro, the bookmaker, to answer for his deceit. As they ascended the marble staircase to the pavilion's upper hall, a small group of distinguished figures awaited them. Sir Reginald Ashcombe, President of MCC, Lord Fairfax, Senior Trustee of the Fairchild Estate, Helena Fairchild, recently arrived from Australia, and Mr. Langley, Lord's Curator, the committee's 3 jurors, former Test Captain Sir Edwin Marsh, Solicitor General Llewellyn Price, and Lady Pennington, noted cricket patron, sat behind a long oak table, their expressions grave. Sir Reginald rose to greet Poirot and Hastings. "Detective Poirot, Captain Hastings, thank you for your prompt attendance. We anticipate your account of yesterday's revelations and your proof that Mr. Waddington was the target of malicious rumour." Poirot inclined his head. "Gentlemen, Lady Fairchild, I present the ledger of bets compiled by bookmaker Carrow, the confession of Mr. Carrow himself, and the personal testimony of Mrs. Helena Fairchild." He placed 3 bundles before the committee: the betting slips, Carrow's written confession, and Helena's signed statement. Hastings added the umpire's logs, which recorded no other improprieties during the match. Sir Edwin Marsh examined the slips. "These wagers, placed minutes before the first boundary, reflect an insider's knowledge of Mr. Waddington's intentions, a clear attempt to profit from foreknowledge." He looked at Carrow's confession. Yet here Mr. Carrow admits that he manufactured rumours to drive down odds, intending to ensure his own gain. He tapped the page. "Mr. Carrow, you willingly betrayed the game's spirit for profit." Carrow, seated to the side, bowed his head. "I do not deny it, sir. I regretted my actions as soon as I saw Mr. Waddington's performance. His batting was flawless. I confess my wrongdoing and beg the club's forgiveness." His voice trembled. Llewellyn Price cleared his throat. "And Lady Fairchild, your intervention brought these documents to light." Helena rose, her green eyes steady. "I feared the scandal would engulf both Mr. Waddington's good name and my cousin's family legacy, tarnished already by the sphere's theft. I provided the note in the scorer's box so that Mr. Waddington's focus might remain unbroken. The club's records and Detective Poirot's inquiries then uncovered the full conspiracy." Lady Pennington nodded. "Your courage in speaking out has been most commendable, Lady Fairchild." She glanced at Waddington, who stood leaning on a chair, his face pale but determined. Poirot stepped forward. "Gentlemen, this case demonstrates that the integrity of cricket, like that of any human relationship, relies upon steadfast honour. Colonel Chamberlain's sphere symbolized trust, and Carrow's theft sought to violate that trust. Similarly, the manufactured rumours sought to violate the game's honour. In both instances, truth prevailed." Sir Reginald turned to the jurors. "I propose that Mr. Waddington's record be formally cleared, that Mr. Carrow's licence be suspended, and that the club publicly acknowledge Lady Fairchild's and Detective Poirot's efforts. Shall we so resolve?" The jurors conferred briefly. Sir Edwin Marsh spoke. "By the club's code, we conclude that Mr. Waddington is exonerated of any wrongdoing. Mr. Carrow's actions warrant suspension for 1 year and restitution to those financially harmed. Lady Fairchild's statement shall be published in the MCC Gazette, alongside commendation for Detective Poirot's investigation." A collective assent followed. Waddington exhaled with relief. Stepping forward, he approached Poirot and Hastings, offering each a hand. "I cannot thank you enough. Your diligence preserved not only my career, but the soul of the sport I love." Hastings clasped his shoulder. "You bowled them over, Thomas. Honourably, I might add." He addressed the committee. "Shall we mark this occasion with the traditional presentation of the Ground Staff Trophy?" Sir Reginald agreed. and a silver bowl was brought forth. To Mr. Waddington, whose steadfast play and character uphold cricket's finest traditions, he intoned, placing the trophy into Waddington's hands. Later, as the morning sun warmed, the pavilion's terrace, Poirot, Hastings, and Helena stood before the glass case enclosure of the iron sphere in Fairchild House's temporary MCC display. The sphere glinted with renewed reverence, inserted atop its velvet cushion. Helena smiled softly. Colonel Chamberlain would have been proud to see his heirloom honoured here, at Lord's, alongside the trophies of the game he adored. Poirot's moustache twitched in approval. Indeed, madame. This sphere has united Devon's orchard, London's pavilion, and Melbourne's memories, a testament to love, sport, and the little grey cells that connect them. Hastings draped an arm around Cecilita, using her pet name for Helena. And to every cricketer who plays with integrity, may their spirits be as steadfast as iron. A small applause arose from the staff, who observed from a respectful distance. Manchester Hawks, a former groundsman, stepped forward. Detective, if you'll allow me, I insist upon polishing the sphere weekly, as a token of custodianship. Poirot inclined his head. A fitting tribute, Mr. Hawks. The sphere's Gemlick dimples shall always reflect the care it has received. As farewells were exchanged, Helena embraced Poirot warmly. Monsieur, your kindness has woven my past with my future. Thank you. Poirot placed a gentle hand upon her arm. Madame, you bridged two hemispheres with your devotion. May the sphere's light guide you always. Back in the hush of 221B Baker Street that evening, Poirot and Hastings reclined by the fire. The iron sphere, temporarily returned to Poirot's mantle among his curios, gleamed beneath the lamplight. Hastings stretched, retrieving his cricket cap from a nearby hook. "Well, Poirot," he asked, "shall we try the nets tomorrow morning?" Poirot tapped his temple and then his cap. "The little grey cells never tire of sport, Captain, especially when honour and trust are on the line." He smiled, pipe in hand. "But first, a cup of tea, and perhaps a scone, courtesy of Mrs. Hudson's renowned bakery." As dawn yielded, tonight in their cosy flat, the two friends savoured the quiet after another tangled mystery resolved. Beyond the clouds, the moon glowed softly, guardian of hidden truths and silent witness to friendship's steadfast light. And on the mantel the iron cricket ball stood, its 5 dimples eternal as the memory of games played and justice served in the spirit of fair play. Chapter 12. The Sphere's Final Secret. A fortnight after the MCC Committee's vindication of Captain Waddington and the return of Colonel Chamberlain's iron sphere to Fairchild House, spring's first jasmine blossoms perfumed the manor's gardens. Within the drawing-room, Lady Hastings presided over tea in company with Hercule Poirot, Captain Hastings, Sir Reginald Ashcombe, recently appointed governor of the MCC Museum, and Mr. Bishop, the Fairchild steward. The sphere glimmered beneath its protective dome, 5 dimples catching the afternoon light in a pattern now famous across 3 continents. "Mon Dieu!" Poirot murmured, nostrils quivering at the jasmine. "Even this peaceful repose seems too tranquil. I cannot help but feel the little grey cells whisper of one last secret." He lifted his teacup with exact precision and sipped Earl Grey, Hastings set down his sandwich. Surely all secrets of that sphere lie uncovered. The hawthorn tree, chest, the Lord's archway ring, the match-fixing intrigue, and the thieves' confession. He glanced at Sir Reginald. Unless you've unsealed a hidden compartment yet. Sir Reginald shook his head with a fond smile. Nothing more emerges from our archives. Yet I too sense an echo of Colonel Chamberlain's ingenuity still. Concealed. Lady Hastings rose to refill the teapot. Perhaps Colonel Chamberlain left one final testament, known only to the sphere itself. She set the pot aside and approached the display case. May I? Without waiting, she lifted the dome, careful not to disturb the velvet cushion. The sphere lay cool in her hand. Poirot leaned forward. Observe the dimples, Captain. All 5 form an arc that once mirrored the orchard ridge. But look closer. There is a faint network of hairline scratches between pits 2 and 3. He approached, magnifying glass in hand. Hastings fetched the lamp to cast low-angle light. Poirot traced one scratch. See here, a tiny inscription, 3 letters and a date. He scribbled in his notebook, EF 19. Sir Reginald supplied a lens. EF, Eliza Fairchild, your great-aunt, Lady Hastings. And 1919, the year the sphere was commissioned. Lady Hastings gasped. My Aunt Eliza. She ran the Devon estate after my father's death. Could she have used the sphere to convey a message of her own? Bishop cleared his throat. Lady Eliza was known for her cryptic notes. She marked every family heirloom with her initials and a date. He added, perhaps she intended the sphere also to bear a dedication, to Philip's memory or to our family's future. Poirot turned the sphere gently. We must reveal the full inscription. I propose one final manufacture. A chemical reagent that reveals engravings invisible to the eye. Hastings brightened. I know the local jeweller, Mr. Whitcomb, who can supply us a delicate acid that etches lightly without harming the iron. Lady Hastings nodded. Then let us proceed at once. This may be Colonel Chamberlain's final legacy. Within the hour, they assembled in the coach-house workshop, its iron walls echoing their whispered excitement. Mr. Whitcomb laid out small glass vials of etching fluid, distilled water, and fine brushes. Poirot donned gloves and placed the sphere upon a cushioned rest. Whitcomb applied a minute dab of solution along one scratch. The iron darkened. Then, as Poirot gently wiped away the excess, the new inscription emerged. EF to PFAC, spring of 1919. May our union endure beyond seasons. Hastings exhaled. A loving dedication from Eliza Fairchild to Philip Fitzalan Chamberlain before he left for Burma. Lady Hastings's eyes shimmered. My great-aunt's blessing of their union, though they never wed. Sir Reginald added their romance was whispered in letters but opposed by family prudence. This sphere united their initials, EF and PFAC, a secret blessing preserved. Poirot closed his eyes in satisfaction. Thus the sphere's final secret. Not merely a token of love between Philip and Cecily's ancestor, but a testament to a union severed by circumstance, and later restored when you, Lady Hastings, fulfilled that promise in Devon. He bowed slightly to Cecily. Madame, you have brought to life not only Colonel Chamberlain's promise to you, but also your great-aunt's hidden vow. Lady Hastings pressed her hand to her heart. I never knew this story. That Eliza loved Philip as much as I did," she turned to Hastings. "And that makes our marriage the true fulfillment of 2 generations' hopes." Hastings embraced her gently. "A family's dreams, redeemed at last." Poirot smiled wryly. "Our saga of mysteries spans orchard and pavilion. Now it finds its resting place in the hearts it vowed to unite." He tapped his cane. "One final duty remains, to place a commemorative plaque beneath the hawthorn tree, marking the sphere's journey and the vows it carried." On the following Sunday, villagers and Fairchild staff gathered beneath the blossoming hawthorn tree. A polished stone plinth stood beside it, bearing a bronze plaque inscribed, "Here lies the hawthorn of loves. Promise, Colonel Philip Fitzalan Chamberlain and Eliza Fairchild. Spring 1919. May their union, long delayed, thrive eternally." Lady Hastings, flanked by Colonel Waddington, now captain of the MCC ground staff, Sir Reginald and Poirot, unveiled the plaque as a gentle breeze scattered petals from above. Hastings read aloud, "In memory of vows concealed and secrets kept, this place of roots holds love's enduring mark." A moment of silence followed, before applause rippled through the stand of apple trees. Bishop placed the iron sphere, now fully inscribed and restored, upon a bespoke wrought-iron stand beside the plaque, its 5 dimples arranged like constellations of memory. Poirot stepped forward. "Mon ami, here we fulfill love's final innings, where the sphere rests, a beacon for all who seek the promise of union and the power of truth." Hastings nodded, tears gleaming. "And may every visitor be reminded that secrets, like blossoms, can be hidden and yet bloom again." As the villagers drifted away, Lady Hastings lingered with Poirot and Hastings by the standing sphere. She laid a hand on the iron ball. "Thank you, Hercule. Thank you, Captain, for uncovering every secret and guiding our family's legacy." Poirot inclined his head. "It has been our privilege, madam. The little grey cells rejoice most when love is served as justice." Hastings grinned. "And when we get to celebrate at the orchard party." That evening, Fairchild House's windows glowed like lanterns against the gathering dusk, as friends and family gathered for a modest feast beneath the warmed hall. Lady Hastings presided over a small ceremony of remembrance. Colonel Waddington offered a toast to unity. Bishop recounted tales of Eliza and Philip's youthful devotion. Poirot and Hastings slipped away by the terrace, savouring the fragrance of jasmine and the orchard silhouette. Hastings slung an arm around Poirot's shoulders. "Another case closed, my friend. Another family's heart at rest." Poirot tapped his temple. "Indeed, Captain. And though the sphere has yielded its final secret, the world remains full of untold stories, just waiting for the next little grey cells to awaken them." Under the moonlit sky, they watched the hawthorn's blossoms rustle in gentle applause, an enduring testament to love, loss, and the extraordinary journeys that begin with the simplest of tokens. Chapter 13. A legacy, sealed. The gentle haze of early morning curled about Fairchild House's gardens, as Lady Hastings and Captain Hastings prepared to depart for London. Spring's first robin trilled atop a magnolia, its song heralding the promise of renewal. Within the drawing-room, Hector Poirot, now dressed in a dove-grey suit with his silver compass pin reflecting the soft light, surveyed the scene with a satisfied air. The iron cricket ball and Colonel Chamberlain's signet ring rested beneath the protective dome, their final secrets revealed. Yet Poirot felt one final duty beckoning, a journey back to Lord's, where the sphere's story had intertwined sport and sentiment, and where a permanent tribute awaited its complete vindication. Lady Hastings entered, glancing toward the mantel. "Hercule, we leave for the terrace garden party in half an hour. Will you join us for one last inspection of the sphere?" Her tone was playful, but genuine. This token had become as dear to her as her own wedding ring. Poirot nodded, stepping forward. "Madame, I consider it a privilege to ensure the sphere's safe passage, and to arrange its final placement at Lord's Pavilion." Captain Hastings descended the narrow staircase, luggage in hand. He paused by Poirot and Lady Hastings. "Shall we?" he asked. "London awaits, and with it our final celebration." Lady Hastings smiled and linked arms with her husband. Poirot produced a small leather satchel. "I carry Monsieur Whitcomb's etching reagent, and cleaned nothing but glass fragments. All is in readiness." Bishop appeared at the door. "Shall I arrange for a carriage, detective?" Poirot inclined his head. "Yes, Bishop. A hansom to Mayfair Gardens, if you please." The hansom rattled along paved lanes, passing pastel terraces and blossoming chestnut trees, until it deposited them at Lord's Terrace entrance, where a modest crowd gathered for the annual Fairchild Heritage Garden party. Tents draped in white and green lined the terrace's edge. Beneath one, a bronze plaque gleamed at the foot of the pavilion's north wall. "In honour of Colonel Philip Fitzalan Chamberlain and Eliza Fairchild, their promise under the hawthorn tree brought to full blossom here." Below the plaque, the iron cricket ball, now mounted upon a wrought-iron stand entwined with roses, caught the afternoon sun. Lady Hastings stepped forward, smoothing her skirt. "There it stands, its journey complete." Hastings offered his arm. "A splendid culmination to a splendid mystery." Poirot surveyed the scene. Marylebone Cricket Club fellows in morning coats, guests in floral hats, and an affectionate murmur as the crowd admired the memorial. From the pavilion's interior, the MCC president, Sir Reginald Ashcombe, emerged with Lord Fairfax, Helena Fairchild, and Captain Waddington. Sir Reginald cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, as president of the Marylebone Cricket Club, I welcome you to this garden party, celebrating the union of love, trust, and sport. We gather to honour Colonel Chamberlain's legacy, sealed by an iron sphere, now resting where his passion for cricket first flourished." He gestured toward the sphere. "May this memento remind us that every artifact, like every heart, endures trials and triumph." A ripple of applause followed, and Sir Reginald invited Lady Hastings to address the gathering. Lady Hastings stepped forward with grace. "My friends, it is my privilege to accept this tribute on behalf of my husband and our family. This sphere guided me through hidden vaults and vaulted pavilions, revealing secrets of courage, loyalty, and enduring love. I thank Detective Poirot and Captain Hastings for their unwavering dedication, and the MCC for preserving this symbol at the heart of cricket's home." She paused, eyes bright. Colonel Chamberlain would have been humbled to see his sphere inspire generations to come. Another wave of applause greeted her words. Poirot's little grey cells danced with contentment. He bowed to Sir Reginald, then to the gathering. Helena Fairchild approached, offering a gentle embrace to Lady Hastings. "Your cousin's legacy, and Eliza's, has found its rightful home," she whispered. Captain Waddington stood at attention, tipping his cap. "And this evening I propose a friendly match of gentlemen's cricket in Colonel Chamberlain's honour." Laughter and eager nods followed. Hastings grinned. "I shall captain one side, Poirot the other. Do you play, Hercule?" Poirot considered. "A brief innings, Captain, though my arm grows long of observation, not delivery." He smiled. "Yet for Colonel Chamberlain I shall try." With that promise, the guests dispersed to refreshments, cucumber sandwiches, elderflower cordial, and the garden's fragrant blooms. As the sun dipped toward a golden horizon, the impromptu match commenced upon the turf. Lord's young enthusiasts and MCC veterans paired under Hastings and Poirot's gentle captaincy. Poirot fielded near square leg, his keen eyes alert for every flick of willow. Hastings bowled the opening over, grass flying from his delivery, stride. Laughter and cheers rang across the ground, an homage not merely to cricket, but to the iron ball's odyssey from vault to pavilion to garden. Between overs, Cecily and Helena watched from the pavilion steps, their shawls gathered against the evening breeze. Lady Hastings turned to Helena. "I am so grateful for your courage in standing by Thomas Waddington, and for your boundless devotion to our shared story." Helena smiled. "It was our story, extended across continents. The sphere belongs to all of us." Poirot joined them, his coat dusted with grass. He tapped his cane thoughtfully. "Madame, tonight we set aside questions and disputes. But remember, the sphere's legacy will endure only so long as its meaning remains alive in your hearts." He waved to the pitch where Hastings was mid-delivery, and the ball limited to a friendly boundary. "And so, our final secret lies not in iron nor inscription, but in the bonds it strengthened." As dusk settled and lanterns glimmered around the garden tents, Sir Reginald signalled the conclusion of play. The players gathered at the pavilion, exchanging handshakes and banter. Hastings and Poirot ascended the steps together, wiping cleats on their trousers. Lady Hastings joined them, clasping her husband's arm. "A most felicitous conclusion," she declared. Hastings kissed her hand. "To Colonel Chamberlain, and to every mystery that brought us here." Poirot bowed. "To truth, love, and the little grey cells that unite them." The guests assembled beneath the terrace's canopy for a final toast of champagne. Sir Reginald raised his glass. "To the iron sphere, once a hidden token, now a timeless heirloom. To Lady Hastings for her grace, and to Detective Poirot and Captain Hastings, who have guided us with their singular insight." Glasses chimed, the sound echoing like a bat's crack across a silent pitch. Under the burgeoning stars, the warmth of fellowship and the thrill of resolution suffused the air. The iron cricket ball, polished and protected, rested upon its stand, a sentinel of memory amid flowering jasmine and painted tents. And as the party drifted toward its close, the little grey cells of Hercule Poirot and the steadfast heart of Captain Hastings glowed with quiet satisfaction. They had solved the mystery of the iron cricket ball, and in doing so had woven a legacy of love, honour and sport that would endure across time and tides. Chapter 14. shadows over the pavilion. Damp mist clung to the turf of Lord's cricket ground as dawn's pale light struggled through leaden skies. The season's first match loomed ahead, yet a tension sharper than an incoming bouncer hung over the pavilion. Word had reached the MCC that a final unanswered question remained in the mystery of the iron cricket ball, one that would test loyalties, reputations, and perhaps even lives. Hercule Poirot stood beneath the terrace awning, heels together and cane in hand, surveying the empty ground with those ever-watchful little grey cells. Captain Hastings arrived at his side, hat in hand, face grave. "Mon ami," Hastings whispered, "this morning's gale threatens more than rain. What unsettles you so?" Poirot's moustaches twitched as he pointed toward the north gate. "Notice the lock's scuff marks. Fresh. Someone sought entry here before the staff awoke. And the sphere's case, though intact, bears a faint smear of mud at its base." He reached into his coat and produced a small fragment of leather, darkened by dew. "This, Captain, suggests an attempt on the sphere even yesterday. An attempt that failed and went unreported." Hastings's brow furrowed. "But the sphere has been on display since the garden party. Who would dare threaten lords again?" Poirot tapped his temple. A hidden adversary, one who feared the sphere's final revelations. "We must secure both Lord's and Fairchild House's treasures and unmask this new conspirator before play begins." He directed Hastings toward the pavilion door. "Come, we shall gather evidence." Inside the silent pavilion, Poirot and Hastings found the glass case undisturbed, save for that mud smear. Poirot knelt to inspect the stone base. "Captain, observe these tiny shoe prints, too narrow for a man's boot, yet too long for a woman's mule. The tread pattern resembles that of a light-soled tennis shoe, perhaps a young player's." He extracted a gel lifter and pressed it to the smear, lifting an impression. Hastings shook his head. "I'll summon Mr. Langley and the ground staff. Supervisors, see which junior members wore such shoes yesterday." Poirot rose, pocketing the lifter. "Meanwhile, I shall review the pavilion logs and the scorecards for any anomalies. Let us reconvene here shortly." Hastings nodded and departed while Poirot moved toward the curator's office. Within, Mr. Langley stirred at a lantern's glow. Poirot produced the lifter. "Mr. Langley, these prints were left here overnight. Who had access to this pavilion and wore tennis shoes?" Langley's spectacles slid down his nose. "The junior MCC members, 20-somethings training for the annual school match. I'll fetch their roster." While Langley searched, Poirot opened the logbook where the garden party entries ended and match preparations began. He traced a finger down names and hours. "See here, Miss Gwendolen Ashcombe signed in at 6 yesterday morning." Langley returned with a roster. Poirot pointed to a name. G. Ashcombe. Her signature matches. Lady Pennington's daughter, notorious for her sporting zeal. Langley blinked. Miss Ashcombe was up early to supervise pitch markings. She wore tennis shoes and she had free run of the pavilion. Poirot's eyes narrowed. So she had opportunity, and perhaps motive. But what would she seek from the sphere? On the north terrace, Poirot awaited Hastings with the lifter and dossier. Hastings arrived with the tennis shoes and a small group of junior members, including the Ashcombe daughter. Miss Gwendolen Ashcombe, slender and defiantly upright. Poirot studied the shoes and the lifted print. He laid them side by side. A match, Captain. Miss Ashcombe, may we speak freely? Gwendolen's lips tightened. Detective, if you suspect me. Poirot interrupted gently. Not suspect, but inquire. The sphere's case bears your prints. Pray explain. Her cheeks coloured. I touched the case only to steady myself. I tripped on the threshold in my rush to prepare the pitch. I never intended harm. Here, Shushu pointed to a small bruise above her ankle. The result of my stumble. Hastings bent to inspect. The bruise was fresh, and a smear of mud on her ankle sock matched the smear on the case. Gwendolen exhaled. I swear, Detective. I slipped, caught the case, and panicked to leave no trace. I did not see the sphere itself. Poirot regarded her kindly. Your accident explains the smears. Yet panic led you to conceal the incident. A moment of fear, and the true adversary remains at large. Gwendolen's shoulders slumped. I apologize, but I fear someone did seek the sphere for more nefarious purposes. Hastings pressed. Do you know who? Gwendolen shook her head. Only that I saw a figure in dark overcoat near the hawthorn tree last evening, before the garden party. I thought it the groundsman. Poirot nodded. Thank you, Miss Ashcombe. Your candour helps. Captain, let us review the groundsman's schedule. Back beneath the hawthorn tree, Poirot and Hastings found Bishop awaiting them, lantern in hand. Poirot produced a small flask. This vial contains iodine test for hemoglobin. I suspect our thief may have cut themselves upon their sphere's display case. Shall we test your gloved hands and those of your staff? Bishop nodded, and they proceeded to test each. Only one pair of gloves, those belonging to Bishop's nephew, young Andrew Bishop, yielded a faint positive. Hastings gasped. Andrew! He was always so respectful. Poirot inclined his head. Opportunity and motive do not always align with age. Let us find young Bishop. They located him in the coach-house yard, practicing his lacrosse under the moonlight. Poirot approached. Andrew Bishop, your gloves bear traces of blood. Did you cut yourself on the sphere's case? Andrew's face drained. He lifted a trembling hand. A faint cut showed against his skin. Yes, last night I tried to examine the sphere for my own curiosity. I touched the broken edge of the case when I thought everyone had left. I panicked when I saw the glass shattered. I did not steal it, I swear. Hastings patted his shoulder. Calm yourself, lad. Tell us truly. Did anyone ask you to remove the sphere? Andrew swallowed. No, sir. But I heard voices by the orchard gate, a man and a woman arguing. They mentioned the price for the sphere and tonight's ride. I thought it best to hide the sphere until morning. But then the MCC curator arrived. I fled before I could explain. Hastings exchanged a look with Poirot. That tallies with the break-in. Poirot nodded. Yes, and the thieves were not Mrs. Turner and Sawyer. They were here again. A man in coachman's breeches and a woman in overcoat. Andrew hesitated. They drove off in a small phaeton toward Lord's Road. I saw the crest, Fairchild House's carriage. Hastings' eyes widened. Bishop's carriage? Then perhaps Mr. Bishop himself conspired. Poirot tapped his cane. Let us confront him. At Fairchild House's stable yard, Bishop waited beside his carriage. Poirot and Hastings confronted him quietly. Hastings held the reins. "Bishop, we know you drove two strangers, man and woman, last night toward the effigy of the sphere. Why?" Bishop exhaled, shoulders drooping. "My nephew told me voices. He thought they were thieves. I drove off toward Lord's Road to intercept and reclaim the sphere. I handed it to Mr. Langley at the MCC Museum this morning." Poirot's eyes softened. "You sought to protect the sphere once more, but in secret, fearing scandal would erupt." Bishop nodded. "Yes, I never intended crime, only protection." Hastings patted his arm. "You served loyally, sir, but concealment only breeds suspicion. Next time, alert the authorities." Bishop bowed his head. "I understand, Captain. I will act openly." Poirot turned to Hastings. "Thus, our final secret, a well-meaning rescue attempt by Mr. Bishop. No villain lurked beyond those known. The sphere remains safe, and the mystery of the iron cricket ball finds its last resting place." That evening, within the drawing-room's glowing hearth, Poirot and Hastings reflected on the day's revelations. Hastings cradled the iron sphere in his hands. "From secret vaults to secret rescues, this sphere has seen it all." Poirot nodded. "True, Captain. Yet in every trial, love and honour guided its fate and those who cared for it." He tapped the sphere's glass case. "And now, its final secret revealed, we may set it aside and await the next mystery that calls upon our little grey cells." Hastings grinned, placing the sphere back beneath its dome. "Let us hope the next ball stays firmly within the crease." Poirot smiled as the embers crackled. "Indeed, mon ami. But wherever a secret hides, there shall we find it." Outside, the last of the evening's light faded from the cricket ground. Inside, 221B Baker Street glowed warm and steadfast. Two friends content in the knowledge that another mystery had been solved, and another legacy of truth and loyalty preserved for generations to come. Chapter 15. Echoes of the Eternal Game. The morning sun filtered through the pale spring haze as Fairchild House emerged from its slumber. The iron cricket ball resting serenely beneath its glass dome upon the drawing-room mantelpiece. Outside, the orchard bloomed in riotous blossom, the hawthorn tree standing sentinel over roots entwined with generations of love and promise. Inside, a gentle stirring of excitement pervaded the air. Today the Hastings household would host a final celebration of Colonel Chamberlain's legacy, a gathering of family, friends, and the cricket fraternity to honour the sphere, whose journey had spanned continents and uncovered secrets both tender and treacherous. Hercule Poirot stood at the hearth, pipe unlit, his little grey cells already anticipating the days unfolding. He surveyed the room's preparations, silver trays laid with delicate pastries, vases of lily and jasmine arranged just so, and wreaths of hawthorn blooms draped across the mantel. Captain Hastings entered, rapping his knuckles against the polished case that held the sphere. "It seems impossible, Poirot, that this simple cricket ball has wrought such transformations, uniting families, vindicating reputations, and even reshaping the MCC's history." Hastings offered a conspiratorial grin. "What final marvel awaits us today?" Poirot's moustache quivered in delight. "Mon ami, The sphere's tale culminates not with revelations of intrigue, but with the echo of enduring values, honour, forgiveness, and the spirit of the game. Let us greet our guests, for the first arrivals may soon cross the threshold. Lady Hastings, radiant in a gown of soft green that matched the orchard's new leaves, descended the broad staircase with her cousin, Helena Fairchild. Helena's dark hair was entwined with hawthorn blossoms. Her eyes shone with anticipation. Bishop hovered discreetly at the foot of the stairs, prepared to assist in any final details. Captain Hastings offered Helena his arm. "Shall we join the courtyard, where the arch of boughs awaits our guests?" Helena nodded, following Hastings across the marble floor to open the drawing-room doors. Poirot fell into step beside Lady Hastings, murmuring, "The sphere's journey is at peace, madame. Allow us to share that peace with all who come." In the courtyard, a white marquee flanked the terrace, its sides rolled back to admit the spring air. Tables of gleaming glass held jugs of elderflower punch, bowls of sugared almonds and platters of smoked trout canapés. On a small raised dais stood a lectern, beneath a banner painted with the Fairchild crest and the motto Veritas et Fides, truth and faith. Guests arrived in pairs and small clusters. Sir Reginald Ashcombe and Lady Pennington, Helena's compatriot, in the MCC committee. Captain Thomas Waddington, freshly returned from tours with the ground staff. Mr. Langley, the MCC curator, still proud to display the sphere in his museum, and a contingent of young cricketers eager to salute Colonel Chamberlain's memory. Poirot greeted each with a polite bow. Hastings introduced partners and exchanged warm handshakes. Lady Hastings embraced her father, who arrived last of all, leaning on a polished walking stick. His eyes drifted to the sphere's case in the drawing-room window. He pressed his daughter's hand. "My child, you have restored our family's honour in ways I could never have imagined." Lady Hastings smiled, her gaze tender. It was love and the wisdom of our friends that guided every step. As the clock chimed 11, a hush fell over the assembled. Sir Reginald took the lectern, gesturing for attention. "Friends, family, and cricket enthusiasts, today we honour a legacy born of courage and connection. A legacy that began beneath a Devon hawthorn tree and found its place here at Lord's and again within these gardens." He paused to let his words resonate. But above all, we celebrate how a simple iron sphere revealed the best of human character: steadfast love, unyielding integrity, and the triumph of compassion over error. He beckoned Lady Hastings forward. "Madam, will you address your guests?" Lady Hastings stepped to the lectern, her heart racing. She cleared her throat. "I stand before you moved by the sphere's gentle power. It has taught us that objects may be vessels of memory, but the true treasures lie within our actions, how we extend mercy, uphold honour, and unite in friendship. Today, I dedicate this gathering to Colonel Philip Fitzalan Chamberlain, and to every soul who sought to protect his legacy. May we carry forward his spirit in our hearts and in every match we play." Applause rippled through the crowd. Captain Waddington, man of few words, lifted his cap, tipping it in salute. The young cricketers erupted into spontaneous cheers, echoing like leather upon willow. Poirot, watching Lady Hastings descend the dais, tapped his cane against the terrace floor. Hastings leaned closer. "She speaks true, Poirot. what remains for us?" Poirot smiled. "Now, mon ami, we invite all to partake in the game, to bowl an over in Colonel Chamberlain's honour, or simply to enjoy the orchard's bloom. And, later, at tea, we shall unveil a commemorative collection, a volume of Colonel Chamberlain's letters and Eliza Fairchild's journal, bound alongside a miniature replica of the sphere." Hastings's eyes brightened. "Then let us watch the play and await the final flourish of this saga." Under the hawthorn-arched entrance to the orchard, Hastings placed a single wicket. Waddington took the bowling crease. Young Ashcombe and 2 MCC apprentices formed the batting line. Lady Hastings joined Poirot on a bench under a blossoming magnolia, their hands linked. Bishop stood at the boundary, watchful and proud. The first over commenced. Waddington's delivery swung elegantly. The batsman met it with a gentle drive along the turf, sending it straight to the fielder. Smooth cricket, an ode to tradition and gentlemanly contest. Each over brought applause and laughter, and soon even Poirot was drawn to the crease, delivering a cautious underarm ball that elicited affectionate cheers. After the final over, the gathering retreated to the marquee for tea. Silver urns steamed with Darjeeling and Assam, tiered stands, displayed scones and fruit tarts. Sir Reginald presented the commemorative volume, its leather cover embossed with the Fairchild crest and the sphere's silhouette. Inside lay facsimiles of Colonel Chamberlain's journal entries, his reflections on cricket matches he played and those he watched under the court sun. As Lady Hastings opened the volume, a hush fell. The first entry read, April 1st, 1919. Today I commissioned a sphere of iron, not for sport alone, but as a symbol of vows. I dare not speak. May my dearest find it, and may its journey guide 2 hearts to union despite fate's sharp curve. Tears welled in Lady Hastings's eyes. She passed the volume to Hastings, who read aloud the final entry, penned after his death. May this sphere endure beyond seasons, as love endures beyond life, to the faithful who protect, and to the brave who honour truth. A collective sigh rose from the guests mingling sorrow and joy. Poirot raised his cup. To Colonel Chamberlain, whose spirit we carry in every over bowled and every promise kept. Glasses clinked softly. As twilight settled, lanterns glimmered amid the flowering tents. Guests drifted back to Fairchild House for supper. Cider poached salmon, roast venison, and spiced pawpaw tart. Poirot and Hastings lingered by the drawing-room's mantel, where the sphere gleamed beneath its dome. Hastings rested a hand on the case. This sphere has taught us more than any puzzle, that legacies are built on love and justice, not on secrets alone. Poirot nodded, and that the most profound mysteries resolve not in hidden compartments, but in open hearts. He turned the sphere slightly. May its final secret, Eliza's devotion to Philip, echo through every spring that blooms in this garden. Lady Hastings joined them, surveying the quiet room. Thank you, both, for guiding us through every twist. Our family's future is brighter because of your insight. Poirot bowed. Madame, it has been my honour, and should any new mystery call, my little grey cells stand at the ready. Hastings smiled. Count on us, Poirot. Wherever secrets bloom, we'll be there. Beyond the drawing-room's window, the orchard trees rustled under the rising moon, and within, the iron sphere rested finally at peace, its dimples reflecting love's enduring promise, its story sealed by friendship, honour, and the gentle brilliance of Hercule Poirot's little grey cells. Chapter 16. The Last Ball and New Horizons. The early summer haze had lifted from Fairchild House by the time the last of the garden roses fell into petal-strewn pathways. Within the drawing-room, an unspoken calm settled around the iron cricket ball's glass dome, its polished dimples now familiar to every member of the Hastings Fairchild household. Yet though the sphere's secrets had been laid bare, beneath the Devon hawthorn, inside the archway gate, within the pavilion raids, Hercule Poirot sensed one final echo calling to his little grey cells, the promise of a new beginning beyond, and every mystery solved. Captain Hastings lounged in an armchair, polishing his signet ring as Lady Hastings arranged fresh blooms in a crystal vase. A gentle knock sounded, and Bishop entered with a dispatch from London. Hastings broke the seal and read aloud. The Marylebone Cricket Club had invited them to unveil a permanent memorial plaque at Lord's, to stand alongside Colonel Chamberlain's sphere in the MCC Museum, a tribute inscribing his name among the greats of the game. Poirot inhaled the fragrance of hyacinths as Lady Hastings responded to the invitation with warm acceptances. "It seems, Captain, our sphere's journey shall continue, symbolizing not merely secrets revealed, but a spirit preserved." He tapped his finger lightly on the oak table. "Let us prepare for one final passage to Lord's, where Colonel Chamberlain's legacy will endure beyond these walls." 2 days later, the family carriage rolled through Mayfair's shaded lanes, carrying Poirot, Hastings, and Lady Hastings towards St. John's Wood Road. Hastings adjusted his ascot with satisfaction. It's rare for a mystery to end so thoroughly. Every thread pulled, every secret unveiled. Yet this final homage elevates the sphere from curiosity to enduring emblem. Poirot's eyes sparkled beneath his bowler hat. "Indeed, Captain, and today we witness not only a monument to one man's devotion, but a testament to the values that bind us, honour, loyalty, and the gentle power of investigation." He tapped his cane against the carriage step. "Let us alight and take our places at the ceremony." Within the hushed grandeur of Lord's Pavilion Gallery, Sir Reginald Ashcombe stood beside a newly installed bronze plaque, affixed to polished oaken beams. Beneath the MCC coat of arms and the date, the inscription read, "In enduring honour of Colonel Philip Fitzalan Chamberlain, whose love and integrity forged a legacy of sport and spirit. May his iron sphere remind us all that truth and fidelity sustain the eternal game." The sphere itself, now encased above the plaque under a protective bronze frame, caught the soft daylight filtered through stained glass, its 5 dimples gleaming with timeless resonance. A small gathering of club officials, family and friends filled the gallery. Sir Thomas Waddington, newly appointed curator of the MCC Museum, held a staff's medallion, while Helena Fairchild and Lady Pennington represented the Fairchild lineage. MCC Secretary Llewellyn Price presided over the brief ceremony. "As we unveil this tribute," Price began, "we celebrate a life dedicated to cricket's noblest virtues, and a mystery that brought honour to every soul involved. Allow me first to call upon Lady Hastings." Lady Hastings stepped forward, her gown of pale rose flowing like a blossom caught in sunlight. She placed her hand upon the frame and unveiled the plaque with gentle ceremony. Colonel Chamberlain's sphere travelled from Devon orchards to these hallowed halls, uniting hearts and reaffirming the purity of the game. I accept this tribute on behalf of his memory, and in gratitude to all who preserved his legacy. She bowed her head and applause rose, echoing beneath the gallery's vaulted ceiling. Next, Sir Reginald Ashcombe spoke. Let this plaque stand as a testament to the power of friendship and the unwavering pursuit of truth. May visitors to Lord's recall not only the feats of bat and ball, but the courage of those who ensured honesty triumphed. He turned to Poirot. Detective, I present to you the first official medal of the Chamberlain League, established today to recognize sportsmanship in cricket at all levels. He pinned a small bronze medallion to Poirot's lapel, its design echoing the sphere's dimples. Poirot's grey eyes shone. I am most honoured, Sir Reginald. May it remind us that every case, every game, is defined by the character we bring to its crease. Captain Hastings received a companion medallion with a broad grin, and I too shall wear it proudly, lest I forget my role in preserving both sport and sentiment. The ceremony concluded, and the guests dispersed to the museum below, where the MCC's prized artefacts stood in glass cases lit like stars. There, the iron sphere occupied its pedestal, surrounded by Dr. Remy's charts, historic bats, and trophies of bygone test matches. Children pressed noses against the glass. Veterans of the game paused in reverent nods. Young Gwendolen Ashcombe, now an MCC apprentice, approached Hastings with deference. Captain, may I bowl an over in your honour at tomorrow's club match? Hastings laughed, clapping her shoulder. By all means, Miss Ashcombe, let your bowling spellbind us all. Poirot conversed with Sir Edwin Marsh, recounting the sphere's final secrets. Marsh chuckled heartily. Mon ami, your stories rival those of the immortals whose feats we enshrine here. I propose the Chamberlain League include a yearly lecture on the detective's role in fair play. Poirot inclined his head. A splendid idea, Sir Edwin. May little grey cells guide many more generations of cricketers. That evening, back at Baker Street, the three companions reunited before the hearth, the latticework shadows dancing like willow strokes upon a pitch. Hastings placed the two medallions on a small table beside the iron sphere's photograph, his own reminder of sport and sleuthering entwined. Lady Hastings poured cocoa into delicate cups. To Colonel Chamberlain, Hastings toasted, lifting his mug. To Detective Poirot's insight and to love's victory over every obstacle. Lady Hastings echoed, to promise kept, and to new generations who will stand beneath that plaque, their hearts stirred by a simple sphere. Poirot raised his cup last, moustache vibrating with warmth, and to Mystery Captain, may it ever challenge us to seek truth with courage, compassion, and the little grey cells that prove the best legacies are those of honour, fidelity, and friendship. As the night deepened beyond the windows, 221B, Baker Street glowed in gentle serenity. The iron cricket ball story had reached its final chapter, yet its echoes would resonate whenever the crack of willow on leather rang out, and whenever hearts chose to guard truth as steadfastly as Captain Chamberlain guarded his promise under the hawthorn tree. Chapter 17. Beyond the Boundary Lines. Early summer's warmth lingered over Fairchild House as the final tendrils of dawn unfurled across the orchard's dew-drenched grass. Though Colonel Chamberlain's iron sphere now rested securely behind glass in the MCC Museum, its story continued to resonate in the hearts of those it had touched. For Hercule Poirot and Captain Hastings, the journey that began with a mysterious parcel and an engraved metal ball had forged bonds of love, honour and friendship that would extend far beyond the boundary lines of any cricket ground. In the Hugh drawing-room, Lady Hastings moved quietly among the rose-scented air, arranging the last of the garden's blooms for an intimate breakfast with close friends. Hastings entered, loosening his tie, and paused to admire his wife's composure. "My dear," he said, "it has been a whirlwind of ceremonies, celebrations, and revelations. Yet here, in this gentle morning light, all seems right in the world." Lady Hastings smiled, brushing a stray curl from her forehead. "Indeed, the sphere's journey may have concluded, but its legacy lives on, in our marriage, in our family, and in every act of integrity we uphold." She turned, her eyes reflecting the pale, gold dawn, "and today we shall share that legacy with those who served alongside us." As the first guests arrived, a small circle including Helena Fairchild, Sir Reginald Ashcombe, Dr. Montague, and Mr. Langley, they found Hastings and Lady Hastings poised before a breakfast table laid with fresh fruits, smoked salmon, and delicate pastries. Poirot entered last, cane in hand, moustache immaculately waxed despite yesterday's festivities. Sir Reginald raised his teacup in salute to Colonel Chamberlain's memory, and to the extraordinary detective who guided us through every twist and turn. He nodded toward Poirot. Poirot inclined his head. "I am most honoured, Sir Reginald. Yet the true heroes are those whose hearts were steadfast. Lady Hastings, Captain Hastings, and every soul who protected this sphere." He sipped his tea, setting the tone for reflection rather than revelry. Dr. Montague cleared his throat. "Speaking of protecting the sphere, I am pleased to report that my formula for preserving metal heirlooms proved effective. No corrosion, no pitting. Only a gleaming testament to our endeavours." He produced a small vial of the protective solution. "I leave this as a gift for the MCC Museum's curator." Mr. Langley accepted the vial with gratitude. "Your expertise will ensure the sphere remains pristine for generations to come." Helena Fairchild leaned forward. "I have been reflecting upon the hidden letter Colonel Chamberlain wrote, and upon Eliza Fairchild's inscription. Their untold love story has inspired me to compile our family's letters into a volume. I hope to publish it, so that others may learn from their courage and devotion." Lady Hastings's eyes glistened. "What a beautiful tribute, binding our past with the future." Hastings reached across the table to squeeze his wife's hand. "It seems, mon ami," he said to Poirot, "that the sphere's final secret was not its engravings, but the lives it propelled toward honour and renewal." Poirot nodded thoughtfully. "Very true, Captain. And now our little grey cells may rest, until the next mystery emerges, as surely as dawn follows night." He allowed himself a rare, contented smile. After breakfast, Hastings and Lady Hastings joined Poirot for a stroll through the orchard. The hawthorn tree, its blossoms now fading to pale pink, stood like an ancient sentinel over the sodden earth. A simple plaque marked the spot where the chest once lay, its inscription softened by morning sun. Here, beneath these branches, love's promise was unearthed and kept through storm and season, an eternal testament to hearts entwined. Hastings ran his hand along the carved letters. I often think of Colonel Chamberlain standing here, envisioning that promise. Lady Hastings leaned against the mossy trunk. And of my great-aunt Eliza, marking her affection for him in secret. Their hopes guided us, reminding us that the past need not bind us, but inspire our future. Poirot paused, scanning the horizon where the estate's fields rolled toward distant hills. Our service to love's legacy now complete, we turn once more to life's daily mysteries. Friendship's small perplexities, domestic curiosities, and the delightful oddities that invite our attention. Hastings laughed softly. I look forward to them, provided they do not involve rusted heirlooms or secret compartments. Poirot chuckled. One can never say, Captain, but I accept that promise until the next ball is bowled by fate. Their tranquil moment was interrupted by a distant crack of cricket leather striking willow. Through the hedge they spotted a match in progress, a local charity game hosted in Colonel Chamberlain's honour, the players murmuring thanks as the ball sped across grassy wicket. Hastings's face lit at the sight. Shall we watch? Lady Hastings nodded, and Poirot led them through the orchard gate. They found seats under a stretched awning, where villagers and estate workers cheered on the teams. The sphere, its story immortalized at Lord's, lived on here as well, in the hearts of every onlooker who understood what it represented. The match reached its final over. A young bowler delivered a graceful delivery that the batsman deftly returned for a winning run. Cheers erupted. The bowler raised her arm in triumph. Hastings turned to his companions. Look, another story begins, shaped by the very virtues Colonel Chamberlain prized: skill, fairness, and courage. Poirot watched the jubilant players. Yes, Captain, our detective work secured truth, but sport broadens it, uniting people across all divides. Here lies the sphere's enduring spirit. At day's end, they returned to the house for a modest supper of game pie, new potatoes, and elderberry wine. Bishop joined them, fresh from the festivities, his eyes bright with pride. My lady, we have received letters from visitors to Lord's Museum, marvelling at the sphere's display and the plaque's inscription. Lady Hastings toasted Bishop. And Bishop, your vigilance and contrition ensured the sphere's safety from every threat. Bishop bowed. I only did my duty, madam, and learned the value of openness over secrecy. Poirot's eyes twinkled. A lesson we all share, Bishop, that hidden truths grow heavy, but truth set free lightens the heart. They finished their meal in comfortable silence, the day's events settling like petals on the lawn beyond. Hastings stood to refill firewood in the hearth. Tomorrow, back to London for regular duties, but tonight we celebrate the sphere's final chapter. Lady Hastings joined Hastings at the hearth, slipping her hand through his arm. Poirot produced a small package from his coat, a bound volume of letters compiled by Helena Fairchild, its cover embossed with the Fairchild crest and Chamberlain. Initials, an enduring testament, Poirot declared. for those who value love's quiet legacies. Lady Hastings accepted the volume with a grateful smile. Thank you, Monsieur Poirot, for guiding us through every mystery, and for reminding us that the greatest treasures lie in acts of compassion. Poirot inclined his head. And may every reader of these letters find in them the same courage that carried Colonel Chamberlain from Devon orchards to cricket grounds and beyond. As embers glowed golden in the hearth and night's hush settled, the three companions shared a final, tranquil moment. The mystery of the iron cricket ball had unfolded across seasons and continents, resolving in truth's gentle embrace. Yet, like a well-played match, it left memories to inspire new innings, wherever hearts remained steadfast, and little grey cells ever vigilant for the next whisper of something hidden, waiting to be found. Chapter 18. The final innings are warm. Summer dusk settled over Fairchild House, as the last of the garden's laughter drifted into evening shadows. Beneath the hawthorn tree, now fully leafed and glowing in twilight, stood the iron sphere, its 5 dimples gleaming like distant stars that had guided so many hearts. In the drawing-room, the final guests of the season gathered for a humble supper. Lord Fairfax and Lady Pennington, Helena Fairchild and Sir Reginald Ashcombe, Dr. Montague and Mr. Langley, and of course Captain Hastings and his wife, Lady Hastings. At the head of the table sat Hercule Poirot, ever the gracious host, his little grey cells at rest, yet alert for any last mysteries the hour might whisper. Poirot lifted his glass of elderflower wine. "Mes amis," he began, voice warm, "we have journeyed from a sealed crate in Wiltshire, through a hidden chest in Devon, across the pavilion at Lord's, to this peaceful garden. Tonight we celebrate not merely the conclusion of the iron cricket ball's odyssey, but the virtues it has stood for. Courage, fidelity, and the triumph of truth." He paused, eyes on the sphere's shadow dancing on the far wall. "May we carry its lesson into every home, every heart, and every new mystery we embrace." A gentle murmur of agreement rose as the guests sipped their wine. Captain Hastings reached across to Lady Hastings. "To Colonel Chamberlain," he toasted, whose simple sphere revealed such wondrous treasures of the heart. Lady Hastings smiled, glass raised, "To love rediscovered and legacies restored." Outside, the cricket ground lay empty now, the wickets silent until spring's next match. Yet within, the embers of friendship glowed bright. Helena turned to Dr. Montague. "Your tonic saved my cousin's life and her happiness. I owe you a debt of gratitude." Montague inclined his head. "I merely did my duty, madam, as you all have in greater measure." Sir Reginald tapped his spoon on the rim of his glass, and to Mr. Langley and the MCC, who now safeguarded the sphere's place among history's treasures, may it inspire every visitor. Langley bowed. "It will, Sir Reginald. The sphere's story shall accompany countless tours." The supper concluded, and the company moved to the terrace for coffee and petits fours beneath strings of lanterns. Poirot lingered at the hawthorn's edge, cane in hand, his gaze on the ancient trunk where it all began. Hastings joined him, lean against the stone balustrade. "Mon ami," Hastings said softly, "you ever regret the end of a good case?" Poirot's moustache quivered in a smile. "Regret? No. Satisfaction, yes, for every mystery solved, is another moment of enlightenment granted to hearts and homes. He swept his gaze across the flowering trees. And now, the sphere's secrets rest where they belong, in open view, a silent guide to truth's steadfast path. A breeze stirred the hawthorn blossoms, sending petals swirling like confetti about their feet. Lady Hastings appeared, gloved hand on Hastings's arm. "Will you two join the dancing?" she teased, nodding toward a small gramophone in the corner playing a light waltz. Hastings laughed, offering his hand to Poirot. "One dance for old times' sake." Poirot chuckled. "Just one, Captain, but involve no enigmas, please." They glided onto the terrace's flagstones as laughter and music wove through the night. The guests formed a half-circle, hats in hand, applauding their graceful if modest steps. In that moment, beneath the boughs and starlight, they embodied the harmony born of every trial overcome and every secret laid bare. As the waltz ended, the party drifted back indoors. The lanterns dimmed, and Mrs. Hudson's final offering of chamomile tea was poured. Poirot and Hastings retired to the drawing-room, where the sphere glowed softly under its dome. Hastings rested his hand on the case. "And now," he said, "we bid farewell to the great sphere's story." Poirot approached, placing a gentle hand atop his friend's shoulder. "Not farewell, Captain, but au revoir. For mystery is eternal, and who among us can say what will call upon our little grey cells next? A missing brooch, a misplaced will, or a letter long unseen, there will always be tales to unravel." Hastings smiled by the firelight as he closed his eyes. "Then let us rest now, mon ami, for tomorrow the world awaits new puzzles." Poirot settled into his armchair, pipe in hand, eyes drifting shut. "Indeed, Captain, and may the spirit of the iron cricket ball, steadfast, honest, and ever open, guide us wherever we go." Outside the wind rustled the hawthorn's leaves, and somewhere distant a cricket bat's soft tap echoed across the empty green. A promise that the game, like the mysteries of the human heart, endures beyond seasons and stories. And within Fairchild House, beneath the watchful branches and immortal sphere, love and truth held their final innings, sealed for all time in the quiet brilliance of recollection and the unending adventure of life's next great mystery.